Chapter 36-37. At first, Luli was a little hesitant. But this time, after the experts of the Immortal region made their move, he made up his mind. He didn't want to find out what the Long-Hair tribe and the Steel Armor tribe were up to. Since they didn't dare to reveal their identities, he would just kill them in secret. After killing the cultivators sent by the Immortal Domain's forces and then exterminating the Gang and Tong clans, it wouldn't matter if there were any schemes or plots. Previously, he had always wanted to investigate thoroughly before making a move, but with a great perfection deity around, it was very difficult for him to do so, so he might as well use brute force. Luli left the Dharma realm and went to the temporary headquarters. He gathered the patriarchs of the 9 rulers to have a discussion. After a while, the patriarchs used the communication formations that had been set up here to send messages back. After some communication, the 9 forces agreed to Luli's plan. The entire Chaotic Star territory was waiting for the Tuan tribe's reply. However, the Tuan tribe didn't send out any announcements, nor did they send an envoy to the Gang tribe to explain. The Gang tribe and the Tong tribe had an urgent discussion and decided to temporarily stop fighting. The Steel Tribe army and the Immortal Domain experts began to teleport towards the Tuan tribe's realm, acting as if they were going to attack the Tuan tribe. Time passed bit by bit. On the 9th day, the Tuan tribe sent out an announcement. They said that a mysterious force had impersonated the Tuan tribe and attacked the Steel Tribe's realm. The Tuan tribe called for the Steel Tribe to remain calm and investigate the matter thoroughly before attacking. Otherwise, the Tuan tribe would view the Steel Tribe as the initiator and declare war on the Steel Tribe. Almost at the same time, the Seal Temple, Grim Reaper, and the other remaining forces also issued a notice, calling for the Gang tribe to remain calm and find the real culprit behind the scenes. They also urged the Gang tribe not to attack the Tuan tribe rashly. Otherwise, they would not sit idly by. The 9 sovereigns spoke at the same time and expressed their stance. If the Steel Tribe attacked the Tuan tribe, they would not sit idly by. Their meaning was clear. If the Steel Tribe attacked the Tuan tribe, they would all send troops to assist the Tuan tribe. Previously, when the envoys of the 10 great factions had gathered in Serene Moon Realm, many martial practitioners had suspected that the 10 rulers might form an alliance. Now, their suspicions were confirmed. The martial practitioners of the Gang and Tong tribes were all shocked. There were originally 12 rulers, but now there were 10 alliances, excluding the Steel Tribe and the Tong tribe. What was he trying to do? Should they form an alliance against the Steel Tribe and the Tong tribe? Moreover, the announcements issued by the top 10 forces all stated that this wasn't done by the Tuan tribe, but by other forces impersonating the Tuan tribe to attack. This confused many martial artists who didn't know the inside story. The ones attacking were dozens of powerhouses who were infinitely close to the Great Perfection Realm. Apart from the 10 great forces, how could the other forces have so many powerhouses? Could it be that the experts of the Tong clan disguised themselves as the Tuan clan and attacked? The powerhouses of the Tong clan had been fighting against the Gang clan, so where did their powerhouses come from? Could it be that they had invited outside help? The Gang tribe's Elder Hall was also in an uproar. The 10 sovereigns were joining forces to deal with them. How are they supposed to play? The 3 factions that had been bribed and suppressed also rebelled, causing the elders and grand elders of the Gang clan to be infuriated. After discussing for a while, they did not come to any conclusion. They could only let the great elder ask the tribe king for his opinion. Many of the elders actually did not know much of the inside story and were only guessing. In any case, it was useless no matter what they discussed. A single word from the clan king would suffice, so they might as well wait for the clan king's orders. The great elder went to ask for instructions, and a moment later, he relayed the order. Most of the experts went to the front lines and attacked the Tuan tribe. This time, the tribe king had invited outside help. The Gang tribe king and Old tribe king would also personally hold the line. The 2 tribe kings wanted to take down the Tuan tribe's territory as quickly as possible. As long as they could destroy the Tuan tribe, the alliance would immediately crumble. Everyone, although the 10 sovereigns have joined forces, they are not terrifying. The great elder said with a cold expression, the 10 sovereigns are so far away from each other. If they want to mobilize experts and armies to reinforce us, it will take at least half a year. Moreover, are the 10 sovereigns really united? Would the weaker sovereigns really dare to make a move? I don't think so. Even if they dare to make a move, they will take their time. Therefore, as long as we are fast, we can easily destroy the Tuan tribe. At that time, the 10 sovereigns alliance will be a joke. The great elder's words shook the group of elders. However, another elder threw out a question that made all the grand elders and elders hesitate again. Great elder, if we attack the Tuan tribe with full force, what if the Tong tribe suddenly attacks us? If we attack Tuan Jie, the Tong tribe will mobilize experts and easily attack our gang city. At that time, we will be finished. Don't worry. The great elder waved his hand. We've already discussed it with the Tong tribe. This time, the Tong tribe will attack the Seal Temple. They won't have time to deal with us. We've already signed an agreement with the Tong tribe. Although many of the elders already had their suspicions, they were still shocked when they heard the news. The two sides have fought for so long and lost so many troops, yet they've already reached an agreement? And the Tong tribe wants to attack the Seal Temple? What's going on? One of the grand elders became excited and asked, Great Elder, are we going to divide the world with the Tong tribe? Divide the entire chaotic starfields? The eyes of the other grand elders and elders also shone brightly. If this was really the case, if they really succeeded, then the Steel tribe would become a supreme hegemon, able to establish a foundation for the Steel tribe's descendants for generations to come. All the grand elders and elders stared at the great elder, waiting for his answer. That's right. The great elder gave a definite answer. To tell you the truth, this time, we in the Tong tribe have the support of 2 super forces in the immortal region. These 2 super forces support us in dividing the chaotic starfields. Of course, after we divide the world, we will have to give them tributes every year, just like the Tuan tribe. These 2 super forces have each sent over 100 elites who are infinitely close to the perfect realm to support us. Originally, the great elder paused and continued. We had an agreement with the Tong tribe that we would start a war. Also, the immortal region forces would secretly mix things up and make the entire chaotic starfields chaotic. That way, it would be easy for us to take them down one by one. But it seems like our plan has been seen through, so we have no choice but to attack. The 10 forces look strong, but they are not. The great elder said confidently, the 10 forces only have 5 perfect realms in total, and they have more elites who are infinitely close to the perfect realm than we do. But do they really dare to oppose us? They're scattered all over the place, and they need elites to guard their territories. But we can attack them with everything we have. Once we wipe out the Tuan tribe, the elites of the other forces will immediately retreat. Then, we will take them down one by one, and half of the chaotic starfields will be ours. Send a message to the 3 dominators who have submitted to us. The great elder ordered in high spirits. Tell them that they are not allowed to interfere in the war between us and the Tuan tribe, or we will wipe them out. Tell them to just sit back and watch. Everyone listen to my command. Aside from the elites who have been guarding the base, the rest are to come out and wipe out the Tuan tribe. Today is the day of our millennium domination. Chapter 36-38. What the chief patriarch didn't know was that Luli had heard everything he said. Luli had been monitoring their every move and recorded the memory crystal. He showed the memory crystal to all the patriarchs at the temporary headquarters. All the patriarchs felt chills down their spines. If it were not for Luli, all the lords would have been doomed. They would have been destroyed by the Tong race and the Tong race, or they would have surrendered and become their dependent races. The patriarchs of the Hall of Apotheosis and the Tong race, in particular, were enraged. They wished they could mobilize an army and kill their way into the headquarters of the Tong race and the Tong race. The patriarchs sent back messages at once, and so did the other lords, asking for Luli's arrangement. Luli was the leader now, and he had the best intelligence. He could see the big picture well. As the leader, Luli would not pass on this responsibility. He thought for a while and proposed a plan. He showed the plan to the patriarchs of the 9 lords of God. They didn't have to see the plan of the Grim Reaper. Luli could make the call. The 9 Lords of God were surprised. Luli's plan was for 7 forces to go to the Tong race. The Grim Reaper would go to the Hall of Apotheosis alone, and the other one would go to the Hall of Apotheosis. One patriarch raised a question, "Leader, isn't it too weak for you to go to the Hall of Apotheosis alone?" Chief Patriarch had said that there were 2 forces and more than 100 powerful warriors hiding at the Tong race. What if there were other warriors of the Tong race? If the Grim Reaper sent only one force to help, both the Grim Reaper and the Hall of Apotheosis could be destroyed. Right, leader, we must be cautious. The patriarchs of the Hall of Apotheosis were worried. This was a matter of life and death for the Hall of Apotheosis. Naturally, they didn't want to take the risk. "It's okay," Luli said with a smile. "As long as I am here, we don't have to be afraid no matter how many warriors are close to the Tong race. 2 of us can stall the one at the Tong race, and I will take care of the rest." Luli's confidence shocked all the patriarchs present. They were relieved to remember that Luli was a ferocious warrior that had defeated 2 major families on his own. Luli glanced around coldly and said, "I will not joke with my life, nor will I joke with the powerful warriors of the Grim Reaper. You don't have to worry about the Tong tribe. On the other hand, you guys have to go all out on your side. All of your forces have to send reinforcements as fast as possible. If the lips are gone, the teeth will be interdependent. If the Tong tribe can't hold on any longer, it'll be your turn next. We, the Grim Reaper, had nothing before. We could give up our current territory and lie low. Can you do that?" "Rest assured, Alliance Master. Yes, we all understand this very well. We will definitely do our best." "Yes, Alliance Master. We will definitely listen to you." The patriarchs expressed their stance at once. Luli nodded and said, then sent a message back. "Tell them to act according to the plan. This time, if we don't do anything, we will wipe out the Tong race and the Xian race. When the time comes, the territories of the 2 clans will be equally divided." "All right." Luli's last words refreshed all the patriarchs. The Tong tribe and the Xian tribe were the strongest, and their territories were also the largest and best. If the territories of the 2 tribes were to be divided, all of them would be able to benefit quite a bit. Interest could move people's hearts. The Tong tribe and the Xian tribe were taking the risk out of desperation for the sake of interest. Luli left at once. He left for the Serene Moon universe. Emperor Li and the others left as well. They went to a major city and then teleported to the major city of the Temple of Apotheosis to fight against the invasion of the Tong race. Luli did not go with the team. He went to the major city first. He did not teleport to the major universe of the Temple of Apotheosis either. Instead, he teleported to a nearby universe. As soon as he arrived, he went into hiding and went to the Dharma realm to monitor the situation. As far as he was concerned, defeating the Tong race and the Xian race would not be difficult if everything went according to the plan. However, he was afraid that some of the dominators would not contribute or even betray the alliance. In that case, the alliance would be doomed. Therefore, Luli did not hurry to the Temple of Apotheosis. Instead, he stayed here to monitor the situation. First, he checked the Tong race. Their powerful warriors were on the move, as well as their armies. So did the warriors in hiding. If it were not for Luli's intelligence, the Temple of Apotheosis would have suffered a great loss. The sudden attack of a group of powerful warriors would catch the Xian tribe off guard. It will take the Tong race more than half a month to get here. Luli thought about it and decided not to worry. He went to check on the Tong race. They were mobilizing their armies and powerful warriors. The warriors in hiding were on the move as well. It would take more than half a month for the war to officially start. The 2 sides must have made an agreement to take action at the same time. In this case, if something happened to the Temple of Apotheosis, the other forces would not be able to come to their rescue in time. Luli went on. This time, he was checking the 8 dominant forces. After inspecting it for a while, he was quite satisfied. He had asked the 9 dominant forces to prepare for the war. They were well prepared. Their powerful warriors had been gathered. Now, they were teleporting to the Tong race in batches. It would take them more than 10 days to get there. Time was tight. Luli began to investigate carefully. He checked on the family masters or leaders of the dominant forces to see if they would betray the alliance or if they had any secret contact with the Tong race. Luli breathed in relief after 7 or 8 days. So far, the 8 dominant forces did not seem to be acting strangely. It seemed that none of them were foolish enough to go to the Tong race or the Tong race. It was understandable. What good would it do to go to the Tong race or the Tong race? The dominant forces would have to be affiliated with the Tong race and act at their beck and call. What if the Tong race and the Tong race took over their territories or demanded half of the resources in their territories? What could the dominant forces do? They would have to resign themselves to their doom. Now that the alliance was working together, as long as the Tong race and the Tong race were wiped out, the dominant forces could continue to be the dominant forces and divide their territories. Even an idiot would make this choice. More importantly, the long-hair race and the iron armor race did not reveal their identities or contact the dominant forces. Therefore, the dominant forces were not afraid. After all, the long-hair race and the iron armor race had come in secret. So what if they killed the powerful warriors of the two races? The long-hair race and the iron armor race could only swallow their grievances. If the iron armor race and the long-hair race reveal their identities, then the weaker dominant forces would not dare to act rashly. After all, there were major races in the immortal region. The dominant forces could not compete with them. This was the key point. The long-hair race and the iron armor race did not dare to make things public. Last time, when they came to help the Dawns, they did so in secret, not daring to reveal their identities. As soon as Little White came out, the long-hair race and the iron armor race persuaded the Duans to retreat. None of them dared to take any actions. Not bad. After another 2 or 3 days of observation, Luli nodded in satisfaction. Everything was going according to his plan. The Tuan tribe had already gathered a large number of experts. Most of the experts of the 8 sovereigns were gathered together. There were 500 to 600 experts who were infinitely close to the paragon level and 3 paragons. Their strength completely suppressed the humans. As long as the iron armor race and the long hair race did not mobilize a few great perfection realm warriors to hide in the dark, there would be no suspense in this battle. Of course, even if there were great perfection realm warriors, Luli suspected that they would not dare to make a move unless they were absolutely confident. Because the major forces of the immortal region knew about every great perfection realm warrior. Once it was exposed, there was no way to cover it up. Unless they could kill all the warriors on the battlefield and not leak any news, the iron armor race and the long hair race would be in trouble if the news reached the immortal region. Chapter 36-39. 11 days later, the Grim Reaper's experts were all teleported to the main city of the Seal Temple. Luli showed up. The Fire Beacon Pavilion's absolute completion had been here for a long time, but no one knew where he was hiding. The Temple Master of the Seal of God's Temple and the consummate experts of the Seal of God's Temple personally received Luli. This absolute completion came not because of Luli's identity as the leader of the Alliance, but because this battle concerned the survival of the Seal Temple. Therefore, the absolute completion of the Seal Temple had to take it seriously. Greetings, Senior Long. Facing the absolute completion, Luli didn't dare to put on airs and bowed politely. This absolute completion was the father of the Seal Temple Master. He sat on a main seat and nodded slightly as a greeting to Luli. The Grim Reaper entered, and a few big shots bowed respectfully. After that, the Seal Temple Master asked Emperor Mo and the others to take a seat and then asked, Alliance Master Lu, why don't you mobilize more Dominator forces? I'm not looking down on the Grim Reaper's experts. After all, there are also Immortal Realm experts here. There is a great disparity in strength between the two sides. This is unfair to the Seal Temple. Don't worry, Temple Master Long. Luli smiled. As long as Senior Long and the absolute completion of the Fire Beacon Pavilion can stop the enemy's absolute completion, leave the rest to me. If I can't handle it, I will apologize with my life. With Luli saying this, the Temple Master of the Seal Temple felt a lot more at ease. The consummate stage expert nodded with satisfaction and said, Luli, since you are so confident, then we will all listen to your arrangements. If we can survive this crisis, the Seal Temple will owe you a favor. If you have any errands in the future, as long as it is not too excessive, the Seal Temple will not say anything. Since a warrior at the Absolute Realm had said this in person, it was a promise worth 1,000 pounds of gold. Emperor Li and the others were all cheered up. Lu Li stood up with respect, bowed, and said, "Lord Dragon, you're flattering me. Since the 10 masters have formed an alliance, we will advance and retreat together. If something happens to the Temple of Ascension, we, the Grim Reaper, will be next. You guys discussed the matter." The absolute completion of the Seal Temple Master waved his hand. "Let me know when you're going to fight." The absolute completion left in a flash. The Seal Temple Master looked at Lu Li and asked about his arrangements for this battle. Lu Li didn't feel so depressed now that he was gone. He waved his hand and said, "Bring me the map." The great patriarch of the Hall of Investiture took out the map at once. Lu Li already knew what to do. He pretended to look at the map and then said to the dozens of astral realms, "All the armies and powerful warriors of these galaxies, evacuate to the Dark Sun universe. We will fight the Tong race there." The Seal Temple's Temple Master glanced around in bewilderment and asked in confusion, "The Black Sun world isn't any different from the other worlds? Why not defend the other star fields? Since it's going to be a decisive battle, why should we let them occupy dozens of astral realms?" "The difference is huge," Lu Li said with a smile. "Take a closer look at the universe of Black Sunday. The neighboring universes are far away from each other. Therefore, when the enemy reaches here, their armies will either have to wait outside the universes or go into the universes. I need time to make arrangements in this interface. They will need at least a few months to conquer the dozens of astral realms. A few months is enough for me to make arrangements. Also, they will have to leave some powerful warriors to guard the universes. Once their experts are scattered, there will be fewer experts when the time comes for the decisive battle. I can also sneak attack and kill their guardian experts." "I see." The Seal Temple's Temple Master nodded. "Okay, I will mobilize the armies and powerful warriors to the Dark Sun universe. At the same time, tell the civilians to evacuate." "No," Lu Li said after some thoughts. "Move the armies and powerful warriors to the Purple Cloud region in front of the Dark Sun universe. When the enemy forces arrive, fight them first and then go back to the Dark Sun universe. Otherwise, they will get suspicious." "Okay." The Seal Temple's Temple Master would listen to Lu Li and do whatever he said. Lu Li discussed some more details. Then, he told everyone to act according to the plan. The powerful warriors of the Grim Reaper and the Temple of Investiture would work together while he sneaked away. He snuck to the Dark Sun universe and told Blood Fairy to find a place to make arrangements. Then, he sneaked to the astral region between the Tong race and the Temple of Investiture. He went to the Dharma realm to check on the Tong race. The powerful warriors and armies of both sides were gathered at the border. The war would begin in a dozen days. The Gang race seemed to be hesitating. The Gang race had a large number of powerful warriors. Even though the 7 forces only sent part of their warriors, the total number was greater than the Gang races. Therefore, they did not launch an attack right away. Instead, they stationed their forces at the border, waiting for the Tong race to make some progress before launching an attack. The Tong race's army arrived at the border as well. They did not stop here. They launched an attack right away. First, they attacked the universe. Since the powerful warriors on this side had left, the Tong race occupied this universe easily. The Tong race left behind an army of 100,000 and 2 warriors that were close to the consummate realm. The Tong race marched on at once, sweeping across the universes one by one. During those 10 days, the Tong tribe easily took over 4 realms, and no battles broke out. All of the cities in the realms raised white flags and surrendered. The Tong race marched on. On the 11th day, the Tong race received a piece of news. The first universe they conquered was under attack. The 2 warriors that were close to the consummate realm were killed. Over half of the army of 100,000 was slaughtered. Lu Li, the leader of the Tong race, bellowed when he received the news. The attacker was Lu Li. He did not hide his identity. After the attack, he revealed himself and swaggered away. While the Tong race was discussing what to do, they received another piece of news 2 days later. The universes near the first one were under attack. Luli took the teleportation altar and went to the second one. His sneak attack was successful. He killed the 2 warriors that were close to the consummate realm. Stop attacking the Temple of Investiture. Leave no powerful warriors behind. Don't worry about Luli. Kill your way in and fight against the main force of the Temple of Investiture. The consummate warrior of the Tong race passed down the order. The powerful warriors of the Tong race agreed. They were going after the Temple of Investiture. As long as they could kill all the powerful warriors of the Temple of Investiture, they could come back and take over the universes. Luli was proficient in stealth. Only a consummate warrior of the Tong race could find him. The Tong race only had 2 at the consummate realm, and the Temple of Investiture had 2 as well. They would not spare one to go after Luli. The army flew in a straight line toward the Purple Cloud region, where the army of the Temple of Investiture was gathered. The Purple Cloud region was right in front of the Black Sun region. The Temple of Investiture had mobilized all the powerful warriors according to Luli's plan. There was some distance between the Tong race and the Purple Cloud region. It would take them at least half a month to fly over. Another 10 days later, another piece of news came which enraged all the powerful warriors of the Tong race. Chapter 3640. This time, the Tong race was panicking. Luli had gone to the internal region of the Tong race. The internal region of the Tong race was empty. Luli could kill his way over and kill all the great patriarchs that stayed behind. He could even go to the Tong city and raze it to the ground. That was the root of the Tong race. If Luli destroyed it, the foundation of the Tong race would be gone. What if Luli massacred the entire Tong race? The Tong region was home to their families, their people, and their compatriots. The leaders of the Tong race were panicking. The warriors were not in the mood to attack. The leaders of the Tong race held an emergency meeting. In the end, they could not come to a decision. They had to go to the clan leader of the Tong race together. The Tong clan's great perfection deity gave the order almost without thinking. Attack! The clan leader of the Tong race knew very well that this was Luli's plan to lure them away. Luli could not really go all the way to the Tong city. Luli was here to help the Temple of Apotheosis. Killing the Tong race was meaningless to him. If the Temple of Apotheosis was destroyed, it would be pointless no matter how many Tong race civilians Luli killed. Therefore, the clan leader of the Tong race believed that as long as they kept on attacking, Luli must return. What was more, the powerful warriors of the God of Death were at the Purple Cloud region. If the Tong race army came to the Purple Cloud region, Luli would have to come back to help. What if the powerful warriors of the God of Death were all killed by the Tong race? The clan leader of the Tong race ordered them to ignore Luli and fly toward the Purple Cloud region at full speed. As long as they kept moving forward, Luli would stop his killing and come back to help. The Tong race had 2 absolute warriors. One of them was not in charge. This one was the current clan leader. No one dared to disobey his orders. All the Tong race warriors flew toward the Purple Cloud region at once, paying no attention to Luli. 3 days later, another piece of news came back. Luli had killed his way to a universe of the Tong race, killing 2 great patriarchs and hundreds of thousands of Tong race warriors. There was a branch of the Tong race here. Over half of the 1 million Tong race civilians were killed. The leaders of the Tong race were enraged by the news. They wished they could kill their way to the Heaven's Cross city and tear Luli's people apart. They did not stop. The battleships sped up. Luli saw this and sighed helplessly. In fact, he did not expect the Tong army to turn around. He only hoped that one of the Tong race's great perfection realm cultivators would return. That way, it would be much easier for the final battle. He was worried that the Iron Armor race had a great perfection paragon lurking around. At that time, it would be 3 great perfection paragons fighting against 2 great perfection paragons, and they would be at a disadvantage. Seeing this, Luli knew that the Tong race had made up their mind to wipe out the Hall of Gods first. They would not return even if Luli had to go to the Tong universe. He quickly returned stealthily and arrived at the Sealed Temple's realm. He then teleported to the Seal Temple's main realm before teleporting to the Black Sun world. After half a month, Luli arrived at the world of Black Sunday Blood Fairy was almost done. Luli checked, but did not know what she was doing. He could not sense the existence of any runes. Luli asked with doubt, "Blood Fairy, can your runes trap so many warriors and armies?" "No problem," Blood Fairy replied with certainty. "As long as they are within a radius of 3,000 miles, I can trap even a warrior at the Great Perfection Realm for a period of time. I have set up a stealthy rune outside. Only those at the Great Perfection Realm can sense it. Not even those at the Great Perfection Realm can notice it. Once the entrapment formation is activated, the Formation of Destruction will be activated." Formation of Destruction? Li's eyes glowed. How powerful is the Formation of Destruction? Can you kill warriors close to the Great Perfection Realm? Not a problem. Blood Fairy's answer was firm. Warriors close to the Great Perfection Realm will die no matter how many come. I don't think I can kill warriors of the Great Perfection Realm. Let me study for hundreds of years. Maybe I can. That is enough. Luli nodded. Go on with your work. Wait for my orders. Luli flew away and teleported to the Purple Cloud region. As soon as he arrived, he went into hiding and did not contact the warriors here. When he teleported, he changed his looks. Therefore, when he arrived at the Purple Cloud region, the warriors here did not recognize him. All they knew was that he had the token of the Grand Master of the Hall of Seals. Warriors and higher-ups of the Hall of Seals were at the Purple Cloud City, including Emperor Li. Luli did not greet them. He left the Purple Cloud City and entered the Magic Realm. He began to use the map to check the situation. The Tong race's army was still some distance away. It would take them 5 or 6 days to arrive. Luli did not find any Great Perfection Realm warriors of the Tong race. The powerful warriors of the Armored race were all on the same ship. But patriarchs of the Armored race did not show up. Perhaps they did not want to leave behind any evidence. There were experts from all kinds of races here, but there was no expert from the Iron Armor race. Luli turned to the Gang race. The battle had not started yet. The two armies were facing each other at 2 universes on the border. Luli checked carefully and pondered for a couple of hours. Emperor Mo. Luli made up his mind. He sent a message to Emperor Mo. Send my order to the Tuan race. Tell them to attack. Do not wait any longer. The Gang race must be waiting for news of our victory. Don't wait any longer. The Tuan race can put pressure on the Tong race. Emperor Mo was used to Li's unpredictability. He contacted Emperor Li at once and sent a message back to the temporary headquarters. Then, Emperor Mo sent a message to the 8 forces of the Tuan race and gave the order. The Tuan race was losing their patience. They were worried that Li could not handle the situation. If the Hall of Seals and the Grim Reaper were destroyed, they would be in trouble. The Gang race's fear of attacking indicated that they were not confident. There were so many powerful warriors here, including 3 Great Perfection Realm warriors. What was there to be afraid of? After Li delivered the order, the leaders of the several forces had a discussion and decided to take action. They mobilized their entire army to find the main force of the Gang race. No matter what tricks they had, as long as they did not split up, they could crush their way through. Then, there would be no problem. 5 days later, they learned that the Tong race would arrive at the Purple Cloud region in about 5 days. By then, the war would break out. They decided to start at about the same time. The future of the Chaotic Star region would depend on the 2 battles in 5 days. 5 days! Luli was nervous when he heard the news. If the Allies were defeated, the Grim Reaper would be doomed as well. Luli felt uneasy. He had a feeling that the Iron Armor race and the Long Hair race had other plans. Otherwise, they would not be able to win the 2 battles with just over 200 warriors that were infinitely close to the perfect realm. If so, why would the 2 races start an all-out war? Find out. Luli used the map to explore the entire Chaotic Star region. There were 5 days to go. He must find out the other plans of the 2 races in 5 days. If he could do that, then the matter will be settled. P.S. I am on a business trip. I will make it up tomorrow or the day after. Chapter 3641. In 5 days, Luli went to the galaxies one by one. First, he checked the major universes of the dominant forces and then the major universes of the Tong race and the humans. He felt something was off. The armored race and the long-hair race should have more than this. After spending 2 days, he searched through all the major domains, but he didn't find anything. He was a little bewildered. Was he worrying too much? This was all the 2 races had planned. They were forced into a corner by Luli. This time, they were forced to confront the enemy directly. He had 3 days left. He was at the Purple Cloud region, so he was not in a hurry. He kept on searching. This time, he checked the universes near the Purple Cloud region and the one where the Tuan race was stationed. Whatever the enemy's plan was, their ultimate goal must be to destroy the powerful warriors and armies here. Luli searched for another 2 days, including the universes nearby and the Tuan race. Still, he found nothing. Luli felt hopeless. He had the map, but he could not find anything. It was even more impossible to count on the scouts of the God of Death and other forces to find something. Either Luli was being paranoid or the enemy was hiding so well that Luli could not find anything for the time being. The Tuan race's army was in position as well. The war was on the verge of breaking out. Luli had no time to think. He had to deal with the Tong race's army first. He went out of the Dharma region and entered the city directly. In the city, warriors of the Grim Reaper and the Temple of Apotheosis were gathered here. The atmosphere was tense. Seeing that Luli had come in, not only Emperor Li, but also the warriors of the Temple of Apotheosis were relieved. They felt they had found their backbone. The master of the Temple of Apothecary and another one were in the city as well. But the higher-ups of the Temple of Apothecary thought Li's presence was more reliable. Luli looked around and asked, "Is everything ready?" Grand Master of the Temple of Apothecary nodded and said, "Everything is ready, as you said. The way out is ready as well. The enemy will arrive tomorrow. If they attack now, we will have to fight tomorrow." Luli was satisfied. He waved his hand and said, "Follow the plan. Don't tell anyone that I am here. I will not show up in this war. I will only observe in secret. You must be realistic. When necessary, sacrifice some great patriarchs." Grand Master of the Hall of Apotheosis and Emperor Li were stunned. They had a headache. Luli meant that both sides should be sacrificed. That meant that they had to fight for real. If they really fought and the enemy's entire army joined in, they might not be able to retreat. Because the armies and experts from both sides were pressing forward, if one side retreated, it might lead to a great defeat. At that time, it was unknown how many experts and soldiers would die. "Don't worry," Luli said confidently. "They have just arrived, and you have been waiting here for a long time. They will suspect that you have something planned. At most, they would only mobilize a portion of their soldiers and experts to test the waters. They would never dare to send their entire army. So, after the intense battle, you will immediately retreat. Even if they know that we have arrangements in the Black Sun world, they will still follow you because their goal is to destroy our main force. If the situation is not right, shouldn't I be lurking on the side? I will make a move." All right. The temple master of the Seal Temple was in high spirits. He had a lot of trust in Luli, mainly because Luli had single-handedly subdued 2 superclans and was known as the most powerful person below the consummate level. With Luli here and the fact that there were no more perfect realm warriors on the other side, the pressure should not be too great. All right. Thinking of this, the temple master of the Seal Temple asked, "Luli, have you found out if there are any perfect realm warriors hiding? Logically speaking, it is impossible for a force from the immortal region to not have one. If there is one more, my father and the Feng Pavilion Master will be in danger." "I didn't find out." Luli shook his head and said, "And if there are perfect realm warriors hiding, I won't be able to find them even if I wanted to. If there really are 3 perfect realm warriors, then just let your father and the others escape and restrain them. There is no need to risk your life. As long as the situation on our side is settled, the other side's perfect realm warriors will naturally retreat. They won't be willing to let perfect realm warriors personally deal with us, and the perfect realm warriors of the immortal region won't dare to openly kill us. Understand?" "Understood." The temple master of the seal temple sighed slightly. Now that the situation had come to this, what else could he do? They had no way out. They could only walk this path to the end. Either the Tong clan was destroyed, or they were finished. Luli gave a few more details and then left. He went in and out in stealth, and the guards outside had no idea. Only the higher-ups of the Seal Temple and the Grim Reaper knew he had been here. Luli left the castle and happened to meet two Saint Emperors of the Grim Reaper. They chatted as they walked. "Brother Hu, has everything been arranged at Tianhua City? I've already sent a message back. Our clan and the important members of your clan will all go into hiding. If anything happens to us this time, if the Grim Reaper loses, they will immediately return to the ancestral land. Don't worry. The future of this battle is uncertain. It doesn't matter if we live or die, but we are afraid of losing. Don't worry. With Lu Huang around, what is there to worry about? Ever since Lu Huang joined the Grim Reaper, have you ever seen him lose? Back when he was still the trump card of the Grim Reaper, I was already an elder. I watched him rise step by step with my own eyes. How many years has it been? Lu Huang went from being the trump card of the Grim Reaper to becoming the leader of the heavenly chaotic star sector today. How many miracles did he create? The situation this time is not as bad as before, so there's no need to worry at all. That's true. Luli is a legend. He has never tasted defeat since he started his career. With Lu Huang around, there is nothing to worry about. Our families have been settled down. Let's fight to the death." The two Saint Emperor patriarchs walked away, mumbling to themselves. Luli, on the other hand, was stunned. It was not because the two Saint Emperor patriarchs were flattering him, nor was it because they were worried. Instead, it was because the two Saint Emperor patriarchs told him to make arrangements for his family and a path of retreat. Family? Luli thought about it. A moment later, he was taken aback. Instead of going out, he went directly into the Dharma realm. He took out the map and scanned the Tianhua region at once. Previously, he had done it once, but he was still worried. He checked the Tianhua city and the cities in the Tianhua region again and again. 2 hours later, Luli didn't see anything strange in the Tianhua region. At least, there were no strange, powerful warriors hiding. He began to search the Heaven Dragon region and the Heavenland region, one after another. This time, it was different. Previously, he would just check a city randomly. This time, he was looking carefully. 10 hours later, Luli trembled all of a sudden. He was filled with murderous intent. Finally, he found the hidden means of the Iron Armor race and the Hairy race. In a small city in a large region to the north of the Tianhua region, Luli found 30 powerful warriors that were very close to the consummate realm. But that was not the point. The point was there was another powerful warrior with the 30 warriors that were very close to the consummate realm. Luli knew this powerful warrior. He was one of the great patriarchs of the Grim Reaper, the great patriarch of Sovereign Yu's faction. Chapter 3642. This great patriarch and the 30 warriors who were infinitely close to the consummate realm were plotting something. They must have been plotting for some time. Luli heard a few words, but he was able to discern a lot of deeper meaning from them. Suddenly, 30 unfamiliar powerful warriors came to the territory of the god of death. All of them were unfamiliar. Clearly, they were from the immortal region. 30 unfamiliar powerful warriors sneaked into the territory of the god of death and hid in a small city. On the eve of the war, a great patriarch of the god of death was conspiring with them. Luli could tell what they were up to without listening to the content of the conspiracy. Luli had been suspecting that the Iron Armor race and the Long Hair race had another line of defense. Otherwise, the god of death and the god of death might lose. If they failed, more than half of the 200 or so powerful warriors would be left in the Chaotic Star region, which would be a great loss for the Iron Armor race and the Long Hair race. The leaders of the two races were not idiots. Even if they were, the White race and the Tong race would not go along with their madness. Therefore, Luli believed that they had a backup plan. He had been searching and had only found it now. He had been careless. The god of death was far away from the Tong race. The teleportation altar between the two races had been closed a long time ago. Luli thought about the long distance. All the scouts of the god of death had been mobilized, and so did the other 9 lords. Luli didn't think the iron armor race and the long hair race would send powerful warriors to the god of death. Unexpectedly, it did happen. Fortunately, the conversation between the 2 Saint Emperors had alerted Luli. Otherwise, if the battle were to break out, the 30 powerful warriors would have charged into the Skyleap City. There was also a great supreme elder among them. If that happened, Luli's family members would have been killed or captured alive. Most of them would have been killed and some important ones captured. This was the most likely scenario. With the hostages in their hands, there was nothing Luli could do but wait for his doom. Luli was the leader of the 10 masters. He had the ability to monitor the overall situation. Once Luli was forced to go back or was forced to abandon the alliance, then the other 9 masters would all be doomed. The Chaotic Star region would become the territory of the Tong race and the Heaven's Chaos Star region. That is so cruel. Cold sweat broke out on Luli's forehead. He had no time to worry about the war between the Tong race and the Temple of Investiture. Luli followed that great patriarch to see if he had any partners. Luli had been careless. He thought that after so many years, those great patriarchs would not betray him because they had vested interests. Only now did he realize that he was too naive. Back then, many of the Grand Supreme Elders who came to seek refuge were old devils. They had no other choice but to seek refuge with the Grim Reaper. Now that the human tribe and the Tong tribe had extended an olive branch to them, it was only natural that some of the Grand Elders would betray them. If the human race and the Tong race divided the entire Chaotic Skystar area, they would have a lot of territory. They could easily give this great elder dozens of realms. After some time, Luli was sure that no other great patriarchs had betrayed him, only 2 Saint Sovereign Patriarchs. This side should be moving soon. This Grand Elder was making the final arrangements. If he had any accomplices, they would definitely plot together. After that, Luli began to ponder. The Grim Reaper only had over 20 warriors that were close to the complete Chaotic Skystar area. Luli was too far away. It would be too late for him to teleport back at once. The Grim Reaper should be moving at the same time. Luli heard from the conversation between that great patriarch and the 30 warriors that were close to the complete Chaotic Skystar area. That was it. Go back and get ready. Also, this great patriarch summoned the 2 Saint Sovereign Patriarchs and told them to make sure the arrangements and to take action as soon as they were given the order. Luli believed that the operation would take place in 1 or 2 days. Even at his top speed, it would take him 3 or 4 days to teleport back. There was not enough time. Fortunately, he had noticed the problem in advance. Now, he had enough time to make arrangements. He had asked Blood Fairy to build powerful patterns at the Lu Mansion. Once activated, it would take the 30 warriors at the Lu Mansion at least half a month to crack it open. At the very least, Luli's family would not have to worry. After the time for 1 incense stick to burn, Luli used psychic power to locate Sovereign of Wings, who was reading documents in a castle. Sovereign of Wings, it is me. Listen to me and do not show any signs of surprise. Find a place of absolute safety and we will talk. This is serious. Sovereign of Wings was in the office area where there were too many eyes. That great patriarch was not far away. Luli was worried that great patriarch of Wings might notice something, so he told Sovereign of Wings to leave. Sovereign of Wings did not look up. A glint of surprise rose in his eyes. Wasn't the Tong race going to war soon? How could Luli come back? Sovereign of Wings thought that Luli was in stealth mode and did not show himself. Sovereign of Wings thought for a moment. He stood up quietly and shouted, "Get Patriarch Lu here. Ask him if there is any information from the Tong race." The Saint Sovereign left at once and soon. He called Patriarch Lu over. When Patriarch Lu came, Sovereign of Wings activated the divine pattern at once. When Patriarch Lu finished his report, Sovereign of Wings said, "Okay, sit here. Do not activate the divine pattern without my permission." The Winged Sovereign and Elder Lu were exchanging information regarding the Tong clan. It was very normal for the Winged Sovereign to activate the divine inscriptions. With that said, Sovereign of Wings walked into a room and activated the divine pattern again. Then he said, "Luli, is this okay?" "Yes," Luli replied. "Something big has happened. There are 30 powerful warriors that are close to the absolute completion of the Tianyang universe. Gu Yushan is a traitor, and he is in cahoots with the 30 powerful warriors. They may take action soon. If I am not mistaken, they're going to kill and kidnap my family." Ah, King of Wings trembled. The information brought by Lu Li was shocking. If it were not for Lu Li, King of Wings would not have believed it at all. The Tianyang universe was under their noses. How could there be 30 powerful warriors? I see. Sovereign of Wings suddenly came to his senses. The Tianyang universe has been given to Gu Yushan and the 4 great patriarchs' families. Now, it is understandable. Luli, don't worry. They're just 30 warriors that are close to the absolute completion of the Tianyang universe. I might be afraid in other places, but if they dare to come to the Tianyang city, I will make them suffer. Sovereign of Wings didn't ask for details. He had absolute trust in Luli. Luli would not joke about something like this. Also, Luli had named Gu Yushan. He must have found out everything. Luli asked again after a pause, "Are you sure? If so, I will tell the Lu Mansion to activate the divine pattern, and you will take care of the rest. If not, then tell them to stay away for now." Activate the divine pattern, Sovereign of Wings said with confidence. "Luli, you haven't been with the Grim Reaper for long, and you don't like to be in charge. You don't know how many years we have been in the Tianyang city. In this city, we have 9 powerful warriors. We can even kill a warrior at the absolute completion of the Tianyang universe. These 30 warriors that are close to the absolute completion of the Tianyang universe think that we don't have many powerful warriors guarding here. They think they can stir up trouble with a mole? Dream on." Chapter 36:43. Luli was relieved to hear this from the King of Wings. He didn't know much about the God of Death. He only heard that when the 9 warriors of the God of Death worked together, they were not afraid of the perfect warriors. Luli thought it was just a rumor. Now, it seemed that the God of Death needed some help from the Tianyang city. Okay, they will do it tomorrow or the day after. You make the arrangements and don't alert them. Luli said, "I will leave this to you." Gu Yushan is colluding with 2 other patriarchs, Patriarch Feng and Patriarch Gu. You go and make the arrangements yourself if there are other people working. I just want the Tianyang city to stay calm. If something goes wrong at the rear, it will be hard for us at the front. The front? King of Wings was surprised. He had been wondering about this. Not long ago, he heard that Luli went on a killing spree in a universe controlled by the Tong race. How come Luli had come back? King of Wings asked with his eyes wide open. "Luli, are you still at the Hall of Ascension? Then how did you get to me? Don't tell me that you can do that from so far away." "I have had some strange encounters." Luli would not reveal the fact that he had the map of the Chief Immortal. If word got out, all the perfect warriors in the Immortal region would come after him. Luli explained, "I have acquired an ancient formation. Through 2 formations, I can have a spiritual connection. I built a formation at the Lu Mansion. I can cover the Tianyang city with psychic power through the formation. You are the only one who knows about this. Don't tell anyone. This is one of my secret weapons. If someone else learns about it, it will be difficult for me to do many things in the future." There is such a strange formation? King of Wings was stunned. He had never heard of such a thing. But on second thought, it could be explained. Through the connection between 2 formations, Lu Li's psychic power could cover the area around the formation. Theoretically, it was possible. Lu Li was even more certain that the map of the Chief Immortal could not be leaked or he would be doomed. All the perfect warriors would come for the map, which was a treasure of the Chief Immortal. Lu Li discussed with Sovereign of Wings for a while longer. Since Sovereign of Wings was so confident, then he must be able to deal with the 30 warriors who were infinitely close to the consummate realm. He might even be able to kill them all. Lu Li used psychic power to lock on to Lu Ling. He told her that there would be a sneak attack tomorrow and the day after. As soon as she received the signal from the Winged King, she should activate the Lu family's divine pattern at once. At the same time, from now on, she should arrange for some family members to cultivate in secret rooms so that the divine pattern could be activated early in case something went wrong. Lu Ling understood the seriousness of the matter. She carried out Lu Li's order at once. She sent all the core disciples of the Lu family to secret rooms that were prepared beforehand. The runes within the secret chamber were even stronger than the runes outside. An expert who was infinitely close to the consummate level would need at least a month to break through it. Unless a great perfection deity made a move, then there was no other way. Lu Li did not have time to go back to the god of death since he came back from the region of universe. Otherwise, if Blood Fairy were to build the formation now, it would take some time for the warrior to crack it. Of course, Emperor of Wings had made arrangements. Lu Li didn't have to worry about the safety of the Lu mansion. Even so, Lu Li decided to observe for a day or two. When the situation was stabilized, he would go to the Temple of Apothecary. The Temple of Apothecary was not the main force in this fight. They would retreat after a short fight. Therefore, Lu Li was not worried. He believed that the Tong race would not be so bold as to commit all their powerful warriors and forces at the very beginning. Soon, a day had passed. The army of the Tong race had arrived. Over 10,000 battleships surrounded the entire Purple Cloud region. The Temple of Apothecary did not mobilize any warriors to guard outside. The entrances and exits were not sealed off. When all the battleships arrived, the leader of the Tong race gave the order to attack. The army marched in. Half of the warriors and more than half of the powerful ones were inside. Only the 2 Tong race warriors at the consummate level did not go in. They believed that the great perfection deities of the Seal Temple and Fire Beacon Pavilion were outside. If the great perfection deities fought, it would easily cause the Purple Cloud realm to collapse. At that time, their experts and armies would all die. The battlefield of the great perfection deities was definitely outside the void. Well, 6 hours later, Lu Li nodded. The Tong race had mobilized millions of warriors and 50 or 60 warriors close to the consummate level to test the waters. The other warriors and armies stayed on the side to monitor the situation. Many scouts were sent out to check the situation at the Purple Cloud region. Master of the Temple of Apothecary and Emperor Li had a discussion and decided to mobilize millions of warriors as well. The number of the most powerful warriors was about the same. After all, they would leave after one round. This was not the final battlefield. There was no need to mobilize more powerful warriors and armies. By then, the Tong race would have to send more warriors and armies. Once the war broke out, it would be more difficult for them to leave. On a plain, the 2 forces collided with each other, and a brutal battle began. Lu Li said that if they were to fight for real, then the warriors and armies would fight with all their might. Blood would flow like a river, and the sun would dim. The battle would last for a day or two. After a while, Lu Li went to check on the god of death. The powerful warriors there did not make any moves. They had been hiding in the small city. After a while, Lu Li turned to the Tong race. The battle had begun as well, but the allies were only testing the waters. They did not go all out. The battle had been going on for several hours. Over 1 million warriors had been killed or wounded. Powerful warriors of both sides had suffered casualties as well. The god of death had sent out more than a dozen great patriarchs. 2 of them had died. Emperor Li and the other patriarchs were heartbroken. But since they were allies, the Tong race would be alarmed if they sat back and watched the show. They are finally moving. At this moment, Lu Li was nervous. He sensed that the 30 powerful warriors hiding in the Tianyang universe had moved. He did not know what pellets they had taken, but their energy and energy were all suppressed. They seemed to be at the great Emperor realm. Gu Yushan arranged for a Saint King patriarch to come. Then, he teleported them from the small city to the major city and then to the Tianyang city. Lu Li broke out in a cold sweat when he saw this. If he had not noticed them in advance, the 30 powerful warriors would have teleported to the Tianyang city and then gone to the Lu mansion under the guidance of the Saint King patriarch. They might have entered the Lu mansion in broad daylight. Nobody could tell what would have happened then. Lu Li did not warn King of Wings. He only sent a message to Lu Ling, telling her to activate the divine patterns at the Lu mansion. Lu Li gave the order. The entire Lu mansion was covered in a light blue shield which enveloped the entire Lu mansion. Buzzing almost at the same time, the Tianyue city was lit up as well. First, there was a yellowish shield. Then, the teleportation altars at the plaza glowed and then dimmed down. The altars were temporarily shut down. Teleportation could not be done. Buzzing, the winged emperor led over 20 experts and soared into the air, standing in the air above the city. The winged emperor coldly stared at these 30 experts as he coldly spoke. "Friend from the immortal realms who came from afar, why didn't you say anything before coming here? Isn't it a little rude to sneak in like this?" "We are exposed." The 30 powerful warriors were taken aback. They took out their weapons and mobilized their source energy. The leader shouted, "Attack and wash the Tianyue city with blood. Charge!" Chapter 36:44. The 30 powerful warriors intended to launch a sneak attack. Just as Lu Li had guessed, they wanted to kill some of Lu Li's families and capture some of Lu Li's family members. Lu Li was the soul of the Grim Reaper. It was said that Lu Li valued his family members very much. When his family members were captured, Lu Li would have to either quit the war or surrender to them. Lu Li was the leader of the 10 Masters. If Lu Li were to quit, the Alliance of 10 would be disbanded at once, which would tip the balance to the Tong race and the Gang race. However, as soon as they arrived at the Tianyue city, they found themselves ambushed. They had been waiting for them to sneak into their pockets. The teleportation altar was closed and the shield was activated. The teleportation altar had been closed and the Great City Barrier Array had been activated. They had nowhere to run and could only fight to the death. If they could kill their way to the Lu residence and capture some of Lu Li's family members, there was a chance to turn the tables. According to their intelligence, none of Lu Li's family members were powerful warriors. One of them could take down all of them. Wait a minute. As soon as they took out their weapons, they realized something was wrong. This was because they felt an invisible force suppressing them, causing their source chi to become chaotic. Source energy was the source of strength for all powerful warriors. Without it, they could not use many moves and their abilities would be reduced to less than 30%. The winged sovereign and the others laughed coldly. Their bodies shot forward like wild dragons, surrounding the 30 experts. The 30 powerful warriors were taken aback by how fast Sovereign of Wings and the others were. Their abilities were not affected at all. They were all close to the consummate realm. One side's abilities were suppressed by 70% while the other side was unaffected. There was no doubt about the outcome of the battle. The powerful warriors from the immortal region took out their weapons and fought with all their might. They also used many strange skills, but in the end, they were killed one by one. Impressive. Lu Li was shocked by what he saw. He did not know that the Tianyue city he had lived in for so many years had such a miraculous formation. Since it was a formation around him, Lu Li did not ask Blood Fairy to check, fearing that the other leaders would be offended. Lu Li put his mind at ease when most of the powerful warriors were killed or captured. When he was about to retract his psychic power, a great patriarch came out from the Hall of Patriarchs and dashed toward the Lu residence. The Elder's Hall was very close to the Lu mansion. They arrived at the Grand Elder's residence in an instant. All right, Gu Yushan's face was filled with bitterness. He stopped attacking. The winged monarch's reputation was still pretty good. He could not run away now, nor could he capture Lu Li's family and friends. He could not run away. Death was his only option. Now that he could protect his family, it was a good ending. The battle ended quickly. Of the 30 powerhouses who were infinitely close to the Great Perfection Realm, 23 had been killed and 7 had been captured. Gu Yushan and the 2 Saint King Elders were captured. Other than a few castles being destroyed and a few civilians being accidentally killed, there were no other losses. The danger was over. The patriarchs began to make arrangements. Lu Li could put his mind at ease. Looking at the situation in Skirich City, unless a paragon came to attack, any ordinary expert who was infinitely close to a paragon would die if they wanted to launch a sneak attack. Of course, they could also attack from the outside and destroy the entire Sky Moon City. In that case, the array formation within the city would be useless. Lu Li turned his attention to the Purple Cloud region. The battle here was still fierce. Another 1 million warriors had been killed or injured. Many great patriarchs were injured, but the number of great patriarchs that had died was decreasing. Both sides were afraid. Or maybe neither side wanted to risk their lives. After such a long time, only one had died. Time flew by. Soon, half a day had passed. The Hall of Apotheosis ordered a retreat. The Tong race retreated as well. Over half of the millions of warriors had been killed or injured. Nearly 20 of the dozens of warriors who were infinitely close to the Great Perfection realm had passed away. The rest were wounded. The battle was evenly matched. Get ready. Grandmaster of the Hall of Apotheosis ordered. Many teleportation altars had been built in the base camp. Some of the powerful warriors left first, followed by the armies. Teleportation formations were built in the base camp as well, which could hide the outside from detection. There were only 10 million warriors here. The powerful warriors had to leave first. The armies didn't matter. The Hall of Apotheosis wouldn't care if all of them were killed. In just 2 hours, all the powerful warriors had left, followed by the armies. When the armies were leaving, they were noticed by the Tong race. They had deployed so many scouts. How could they not notice such a large-scale retreat? The higher-ups of the Tong race held an emergency meeting. At the same time, a large number of powerful warriors infinitely close to the Great Perfection realm came to investigate. Finally, they confirmed that the Hall of Apotheosis was indeed retreating. After half of the Hall of Apotheosis army had left, the higher-ups of the Tong race ordered a full-scale pursuit. The Tong clan's army and experts charged over. The runes here were destroyed one by one, and the army here was slaughtered. There were 3 to 4 million soldiers left here. They were slaughtered mercilessly. Not a single captive was left. Boom, boom, boom. After most of the soldiers were massacred, the ground below suddenly lit up with rays of light, followed by a terrifying explosion. This was set up by the Hall of Apotheosis. If they just left like that, they would inevitably arouse suspicion. Setting up a divine rune formation here to attack the enemies could explain that they were pretending to retreat. Their real goal was to use the divine rune formation to blow up the armies and powerful warriors of the Tong race. The divine rune formation was indeed very powerful. It had wounded more than a dozen powerful beings who were infinitely close to the consummate level, and killed 2 of them. The Tong clan army was torn apart in droves, and over 1 million of them had been killed. So cruel. They even blew up their own soldiers. The powerful warriors infinitely close to the Great Perfection realm that escaped looked at each other. The Hall of Apotheosis was blowing up their own soldiers. They had been prepared to use them as bait. If he hadn't reacted quickly, they would all have been killed. Continue the chase. We can't let their main force escape. The leader of the Tong race ordered. He didn't care about the tricks of the Hall of Apotheosis. Exchanging 3 to 4 million soldiers for more than 1 million and 2 powerful warriors infinitely close to the Great Perfection realm seemed like a good deal. But that wasn't the case. They had set up here for so long to achieve this result. They were clearly at their wits' end. Chapter 3645. The Great Perfection stage cultivators of the Seal Temple and the Fire Beacon Pavilion didn't come out at all. Therefore, the battle between the Great Perfection stage cultivators didn't erupt. They didn't occupy the Purple Cloud world either. Instead, they mobilized the army and flew towards the Black Sun world. They interrogated and found out that the Seal God Palace was teleported to the Black Sun world. The Tong clan, on the other hand, didn't panic at all. It didn't matter where the Seal Temple teleported them to. They could run, but the temple couldn't. Could it be that they didn't even want the main world anymore? He just had to chase after them. As long as he destroyed their main force, the rest would be simple. The warship flew at full speed and arrived outside the Black Sun world in just 2 days. They once again surrounded the Black Sun world and sent scouts inside. After confirming that there was indeed a large army inside, the army started to move in. Moreover, a large portion of the army entered in one go, and a large portion of the experts also entered. This time, they were not in a hurry to attack. Instead, they began to set up camp. This time, the Tong clan was prepared to investigate thoroughly and then kill all the experts from the Seal Hall and the Grim Reaper in one go. They wanted to investigate the layout of all the divine rune formations. They couldn't afford to make the same mistake as they did in the Purple Cloud Realm. After investigating for a while, the Tong clan found that there were indeed divine glyphs arranged in the Seal Temple's main camp. Were they planning to use the same trick again? You want to use some of your troops to drag down the troops and experts here? Since they had found out, they couldn't be fooled. After some discussion, the higher-ups of the Tong clan decided to mobilize the entire army to surround the Seal God Palace. When they attacked, they would first destroy the divine rune formation, so that the experts and troops of the God Seal Palace and the Grim Reaper had nowhere to run. Luli had arrived at the universe of Dark Sun early on. He had confirmed the arrangements with Blood Fairy. He was delighted to see that more than half of the warriors of the Tong clan in the Immortal region had arrived. The camp was set up in the center of Blood Fairy's spell formation. Around the camp, there were some divine glyphs. These were all camouflage spells. No one could see the truly powerful divine glyphs unless they were perfected paragons. The great perfection cultivators of the Seal Temple and the Fire Beacon Pavilion were outside, and they revealed themselves. Therefore, the great perfection deities of the Tong tribe would definitely be on guard outside. They probably wouldn't even bother to participate in the battle below. After all, the Tong tribe had more powerhouses who were infinitely close to great perfection deity than the Seal Temple and Grim Reaper. Luli was lurking nearby. He didn't pay attention to anything else. Instead, he kept his eyes on the battlefield in the Dark Sun universe. This battle was crucial. It would determine the reversal of the overall battle situation, as well as the fate of the God Seal Temple and the Grim Reaper. If they lost this battle, the future of the Alliance would be bleak. The higher-ups of the Hall of Apotheosis and the Grim Reaper were nervous as well. They were not sure. Luli said he had plans, but nobody knew where they were. Luli himself didn't show up. Now that they were surrounded by the army, they couldn't even run away. They had to fight to the death. The higher-ups of the God of Death were fine because Emperor Mo and the others knew that Luli would not leave them behind. But the higher-ups of the Hall of Investiture were not so sure. They were nervous. If they all died here, none of the people from the God Seal Hall would be able to escape. They would all be slaughtered. At this point, they had no way out and could only fight to the death. Luli checked to make sure that everything was safe. Then, he entered the Dharma realm. He scouted the heavenly crossing boundary and confirmed that there were no problems. He then scouted the gang tribe and confirmed that there were no problems as well. He then looked over and waited for the Tong tribe to attack. A day later, the Tong tribe's army attacked. Moreover, most of their troops and experts were mobilized, numbering in the tens of millions and more than 200 experts who were infinitely close to the Great Perfection Realm. They directly surrounded the Seal Temple's main camp from 4 directions. The enemy is coming. You don't have to do anything. Just stay in the base camp and enjoy the show. Don't worry about anything strange. Leave it to me. Luli sent a message to Emperor Mo through the map. Then, Luli dashed out and sneaked into the battlefield. When the army was close, Luli said to Blood Fairy, "Blood Fairy, activate the shield formation over at the base camp." Blood Fairy had been hiding underground. She had set up a powerful divine pattern to cover up everything. Apart from warriors at the Consummate Realm, average warriors could not see what was going on underground. Luli gave his order. The divine pattern over at the base camp glowed. A semicircular shield came out and covered up all the warriors of the Hall of Apotheosis and the Grim Reaper. The warriors there did not make any noise. They thought it was the work of the higher-ups. The higher-ups of the Hall of Apotheosis, however, were frightened. They did not give any orders. Who activated the divine pattern? Fortunately, Luli had sent a message to Emperor Mo. Emperor Mo knew it was Luli's doing. He wanted to explain and told everyone to be patient. Emperor Mo conveyed Luli's message. Let us enjoy the show. The warriors looked at each other, speechless. Even the warriors of the Grim Reaper, who were close to the Consummate Realm, were confused. Was Luli going to fight against an army of 10 million and more than 200 warriors that were close to the Consummate Realm? Was he going to go against nature? It's about time. Lu Li and the warriors had almost entered the area covered by the divine pattern formation. Lu Li crushed a jade talisman. That was a signal agreed upon with the consummate realm warriors of the Hall of Apotheosis. It meant that they could take action now. Lu Li needed them to stall the consummate realm warriors of the Tong race so that they could not interfere in the battle. The higher-ups of the Tong race sneered when they saw that the shield formation in the base camp of the Hall of Apotheosis was activated. One shield formation was enough to stop so many powerful warriors of the Tong race. That was not possible. No matter how strong the divine pattern was, it needed energy to sustain it. No shield could stand the continuous attacks. On the contrary, since the shield was activated, the warriors of the Tong race had let down their guard. Scouts of the Tong race were everywhere. They were certain that there were no other powerful warriors or armies hiding here. Since all the powerful warriors were here, there would not be any ambushes or traps in other places. There were millions of soldiers and dozens of experts coming from 4 different directions. Soon, they arrived outside the light shield. There was a dense mass of soldiers everywhere. Making sure that everyone was here, Lu Li said with a cold smile, "Blood fairy, do it." Buzzing. The ground lit up and trembled. Then, many beams of light shot up to the sky and changed directions in midair. The beams of light intertwined with each other, over and over again, as if they were weaving a fishing net. In an instant, an area with a radius of tens of thousands of miles was covered up. Buzzing. The ground continued to shine, and pillars of light shot out continuously. The pillars of light that shot out later turned into long snakes that continued to intertwine with the original pillars of light, making the fishing net even more dense and sturdy. Everything happened quickly. The first layer of the fishing net came out in the time for 1 or 2 breaths. Before the warriors of the Tong race realized what was going on, the fishing net in the sky had been intertwined and sealed up the space. The divine pattern. The warriors of the immortal region were taken aback when they saw the divine pattern. They sensed that the divine pattern was powerful. The method of the divine pattern reminded them of the ancient divine patterns that had been lost in the world for a long time. One of the experts roared, "Everyone, hurry up and attack. We can't let this divine inscription succeed. Otherwise, we will all be trapped to death." Chapter 3646. In the hearts of many formidable martial artists, the Ancient Era and the Ancient Era were the pinnacle of the various races. On the contrary, they have been declining in recent times. Especially after the domains above the 4th heaven were destroyed, too many perfected ones died, too many powerful races were destroyed, and too many powerful mystical abilities were destroyed. The field of divine patterns had reached its peak in the Ancient Era. The formidable martial artists of that era were like 100 flowers blooming. Countless races were thinking of ways to become stronger and used all kinds of methods to become stronger. There were too many races and too many formidable martial artists in that era. If they didn't think of ways to become stronger, they wouldn't have the space to survive. They would be suppressed and bullied, unable to raise their heads. Therefore, many races in that era started to study divine patterns. Divine patterns reached its peak in the Ancient Era. The powerful divine patterns at that time could kill perfected ones. There was a disadvantage to the study of divine patterns. It required a lot of time and talent in this field. It required a long period of seclusion to study. There was another problem with divine patterns. Divine patterns could not be moved. Therefore, they were mainly used for defense. It was very difficult to attack. Gradually, the number of people researching divine inscriptions dwindled, and divine inscriptions also started to weaken. As time flowed by, many ancient clans that researched divine inscriptions were annihilated, and many of the methods used to set up divine inscriptions disappeared. Divine patterns became less and less important. They could only be used as support and not as the main direction of cultivation. Therefore, ancient divine patterns were the strongest. Ancient divine patterns were second. The difference between the divine patterns of the past and the past was like heaven and earth. Some of these formidable martial artists from the immortal domain came down from the 4th heaven. They knew what was good and what was bad. Whether this was an ancient divine pattern or not, at least it was very powerful. If they were all trapped, they would be in big trouble. Why did the God Seal Hall and the Grim Reaper lure them here? They must have a plan. Since they could set up such a powerful trap formation, they must have a way to set up a powerful killing formation. Boom, boom, boom. More than 200 formidable martial artists attacked the divine pattern formation. It was obvious that the divine pattern formation was not completely formed yet. However, what shocked these 200 formidable martial artists was that the divine pattern formation did not move at all. It was obvious that they could not break it. At least, they could not break it in a short period of time. Pillars of light soared into the sky and then turned into giant snakes that continued to interweave with the original fishing net. The spell formation became stronger and stronger, becoming more and more unbreakable. Towards the end, all the experts were in despair. They definitely wouldn't be able to break this trap formation. Even if they were given a few years, they still wouldn't be able to break it. It was too strong. This master of Temple of Seal, Emperor Li and Emperor Mo were dumbfounded. They knew that Lu Li had some plans, but they did not know that Lu Li had such a powerful one. Quietly laying down a divine imprint, this divine inscription was ridiculously powerful. Hundreds of experts who were infinitely close to the Paragon level couldn't even shake it in the slightest. Wasn't this too terrifying? Quick, inform the clan king to break the formation. The experts of the Tong clan panicked. Many of them crushed their jade talismans, which were used to call for help. As long as a paragon came in, this trap formation could be easily broken. When they crushed the jade talisman, the entire spell formation suddenly began to emit pink smoke. This smoke came out from underground at an extremely fast speed. In an instant, it enveloped the space within a radius of tens of thousands of miles, making the world faintly discernible. Oh no! All the powerful warriors were panicking. The trap formation had been set up. Now that the smoke was coming out, it couldn't be anything good. The smoke might be poisonous. The group of powerful warriors yelled. They told everyone to hold their breaths and not to breathe in any of the smoke. If they had skills of defense, they could shield and isolate the smoke. To everyone's surprise, the smoke was not poisonous. The smoke surged out and soon filled up the entire space. The smoke did not affect psychic power. Therefore, the existence of the smoke was not of much significance. What is the smoke for? Mo Huang, Yu Huang, and the others were baffled. Was it just for fun? The smoke was not poisonous, and it could not block psychic power. What was the point? The next second, they all knew what the smoke was for. The smoke wriggled and began to condense together. Soon, the smoke condensed into the shape of a long sword. The endless smoke condensed into millions of long swords. These long swords all shot downwards at a speed as fast as light. The formation of destruction is going to be activated. The powerful warriors of the celestial region sighed. Based on their experience, they didn't know if they could protect the cultivators who were infinitely close to the consummate level, but they probably couldn't protect the army of 10 million. As expected, the ground below kept flashing. Pink swords shot out. The powerful warriors of the celestial region didn't warn them. Instead, they had already used all kinds of methods to protect themselves. Boom, 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 boom. Blood-curdling screams rang out one after another. All the soldiers who were pierced by the pink longsword exploded into minced meat. It was as if a treasured sword that could cut through iron like mud was stabbing a clay figurine. Those soldiers were easily slaughtered like chickens and ducks. Scatter, scatter! Hide yourselves! The powerful warriors of the Tong clan roared. Unfortunately, it was useless. The pink swords kept shooting out from the ground. They shot up into the sky and then shot back out from the ground. The cycle repeated, harvesting the soldiers over and over again. Massacre! It was a very easy massacre. In just a few breaths' time, more than half of the army of 10 million died. Many emperors and saint emperors were also killed. The cultivators, infinitely close to the consummate level, withstood a few waves of attacks. They were very fast and could dodge the attacks of the swords. Thank goodness, The powerful warriors of the celestial region were relieved. As long as they were safe, no matter how many emperors and saint emperors died, they wouldn't care. After all, they didn't belong to their clans. Only the powerful warriors of the Tong clan had red eyes. They were filled with anger and murderous intent. Brutal. The leaders of the Sealed Temple and Grim Reaper, as well as countless soldiers, were shocked. This killing formation was too brutal. If they weren't here, all the soldiers would have died. However, the leaders of the Sealed Temple were confused. Luli said to let them watch the show. The Tong clan and the celestial region didn't lose any experts infinitely close to the consummate level. Killing the soldiers didn't mean much. The powerful ones were the most important. If they didn't kill these powerful warriors, the situation wouldn't change. Swish, swish. After a while, the soldiers were almost all dead. Suddenly, white smoke came out from the ground. The moment the smoke came out, the temperature of the entire space dropped by a few hundred degrees. The blood in the air turned into blood crystals and fell to the ground. The blood flowing on the ground also froze. It's over. The powerful warriors of the celestial region felt cold. Not only their bodies, but their hearts as well. As soon as they sensed the cold air, despair filled their hearts. This cold air was too terrifying. As long as they were enveloped by it, not only would they not be frozen, but their speed would also be reduced by hundreds of times. At that time, how would they be able to avoid the pink sword's attacks? The real killing formation had been activated. The powerful warriors of the Tong clan were also shocked. They knew that if the consummate level of their clan didn't come, they would all die here. Chapter 36:47. The great perfection deity of the Tong clan couldn't come, and the two deities were very, very far away. Even if they wanted to rush back, who knew how long it would take them? Luli had previously told the Investiture Temple's consummate level cultivators to lure these two away as much as possible. The Temple of Appointment had no intention of fighting with the two at the Tong race. Therefore, the two at the Temple of Appointment were lured away as well. The two at the Tong race sensed that the Jade Talisman was broken. They wanted to go back to help, but the Temple of Appointment and the Fire Beacon Pavilion would not allow that. The two at the Tong race used all they had to stop the two at the Tong race so that they could not leave. As a matter of fact, Luli was right. There was another at the Tong race, the one at the Iron Armor race. Moreover, this great perfection paragon was currently in the Black Sun world and was observing the situation below. It seemed that he was not going to make a move. The cold air was coming up. The powerful warriors at the immortal region who were infinitely close to the absolute realm were shrouded by the cold air and slowed down. Some of them were attacked by the pink swords and some were injured. Yet, the one at the absolute realm had no intention of making a move. The one at the absolute realm looked around and even mobilized the energy in heaven and earth to sense the surroundings, as if he was looking for something. That was right. The one at the absolute realm was looking for someone. He was looking for Luli. He would not make a move before he found Luli. Not even the powerful warriors in the immortal region knew about this one at the absolute realm. Only the patriarch of the Iron Armor race knew. He was at the absolute realm of the Iron Armor race and famous in the immortal region. If he would make a move, there must be no trace left. Otherwise, the Iron Armor race would be doomed. He was confident that he could break the runes here and kill all the powerful warriors at the Temple of Appointment and the Grim Reaper. However, he could not find Luli. He knew that Luli must be hiding nearby, and that Luli had learned the traceless way. Therefore, he would not dare to make a move unless he found and killed Luli. Luli and Lu Xiaobai were brothers. Luli could see the king of the eastern region. If he were to make a move here, and Luli went back to the immortal region to inform the king of the eastern region, the Iron Armor race would be wiped out. Very quickly, the experts below, who were infinitely close to the consummate level, were killed. Under the interference of the cold, the experts' speed was greatly reduced, and even their origin energy was showing signs of being frozen. The pink longsword was terrifying. It couldn't kill them directly, but it would explode when it collided with their bodies. It would break through their defenses and tear apart their bodies bit by bit. There were more than 200 utmost powerful beings here. By the looks of it, if they didn't receive any help within an hour, all of the powerful beings here would definitely die here. This time, the Tong clan had sent out almost all of their elites. The elites that had come here were definitely the backbone of the Tong clan. If they were killed, the Tong clan would suffer a great loss. Not only would they be able to divide the chaotic starfields, but they would also be wiped out at any time. Vigorous, powerful, terrifying. Emperor Li, Emperor Mo, Emperor Seal, Temple Lord, and the others were once again dumbfounded. In front of this killing array, experts who were infinitely close to the great perfection realm felt like livestock, slaughtering them as they pleased. It was too easy. More than 200 powerhouses who were infinitely close to the great perfection realm were enough to wipe out countless large clans. This was a super powerful force that no race in the 8 major star fields dared to underestimate. Against such a powerful force, Luli had just set up a formation and killed it easily. The leaders of the Temple of Seal Temple and God of Death were shocked. They thought Luli was more powerful than the average complete warriors. It was understandable. Could an average complete warrior defeat the Guam race and the rhinoceros ape race? Given his fame, how could Luli not have other means? Eventually, the Iron Armor race warriors at the Great Perfection Realm didn't take action. Of course, there was another reason. The more than 200 warriors were not from the Iron Armor race. They were recruited. The Iron Armor race warriors didn't dare to use their own powerful warriors. They mobilized some resources and hired the powerful warriors. After all, they were hired by the Iron Armor race. They wouldn't feel bad if the warriors died. This was a way for the Iron Armor race to avoid risks. It didn't matter if the powerful warriors who were not from the Iron Armor race were exposed. The Iron Armor race warriors could just refuse to admit it. Without evidence, the King of Realms wouldn't do anything to them. Before beating a dog, the Iron Armor race had the King of the North behind them. An hour later, all the powerful warriors were killed. Needless to say, the warriors were all dead. The Iron Armor race warrior didn't leave. He stayed here, waiting for Lu Li to come out. As soon as Lu Li came out, he could kill Lu Li in one move. In this way, he would be able to explain himself when he went back. The Fire Beacon Pavilion and the Temple of Seal were not here. Who would know it was him? Was there any proof that it was him? The Iron Armor race warrior had been hiding in the sky, waiting for Lu Li to come out. The sacred glyph disappeared, but Lu Li didn't come out. The Grand Master of the Temple of Seal led a group of powerful warriors and warriors out of this universe to hunt down the warriors that stayed outside. Lu Li was in the Dharma realm. He didn't plan to show himself because he suspected that there was an Iron Armor race warrior. Even if the Iron Armor race didn't, the Tong race warrior would try their best to kill him if he were to show himself. The fact that he was alive was the biggest deterrent. He was working in the dark, which was more useful than fighting in the open. Also, he was aware of his importance. Otherwise, the powerful warriors from the Immortal region wouldn't have sneaked into the Tianhua city. Once he died, the entire alliance would fall apart, the Grim Reaper would be doomed, and the entire Lu family would perish. The warriors and powerful warriors that stayed outside were scared out of their wits. The scouts sent back the news. They were scared out of their wits to learn that so many warriors were killed in such a short time. When the warriors from the Temple of Seal and the Grim Reaper came out, the warriors and powerful warriors that stayed outside fled without waiting for the orders from the Tong race. Go after them. The Grand Master of the Temple of Seal shouted in high spirits. Lu Li had set up such a good situation for them. They would be idiots if they didn't know how to take advantage of it. Lu Li didn't give him the order to kill his way to the Tong race. The Grand Master of the Temple of Seal planned to lead the warriors to the Tong region and conquer the territory of the Tong race first. Lu Li didn't stop the Grand Master of the Temple of Seal and the others. He began to search for the warriors at the Tong region. Soon he found them. The 4 warriors of the Tong race had revealed themselves. He didn't dare to look too carefully because the warriors of the Tong race could sense his presence. After a while, he shook his head. The battle between the warriors of the Tong race seemed to be boring. They were retreating and chasing at the same time. But clearly, neither side was exerting their full strength. It was more like the warriors of the Temple of Seal and the Fire Beacon Pavilion were escorting them back. It's a done deal. Luli breathed in relief. Whether there was a third warrior at the Tong race's level or not, they had won this battle. Now that they had won, there was no more suspense about the gang race. This time, the gang race and the Tong race went for wool and came home shorn. The fate that awaited them would not be pretty. Author's note, Chapter 4. Chapter 3648. The Tong tribe had been defeated. They had been hunted down by the Seal Temple and the Grim Reaper for more than 10 days. Most of their experts had been killed, and their army had been left behind. The two great perfection deities of the Tong tribe retreated, as did the great perfection deity of the Armored tribe. Since he could not find Lu Li and could not kill Lu Li, staying here was pointless. The situation on the Tong tribe side had been decided. The 30 powerhouses on Skycross City's side had been killed, and there was no longer any suspense over the gang tribe situation. This operation could be considered a complete failure. Therefore, the Great Perfection Stage Iron Armor race was very decisive and decided to directly retreat back to the Immortal region. This operation was similar to what Lu Li had guessed. This operation was secretly instigated by the Bei family. Their real intention was to force Lu Li to seek help from Little White, to interrupt Little White's seclusion, to affect its cultivation, and to prevent it from breaking through to the consummate level. The Heaven-Devouring Beast was an ancient variant, one of the top immortal beasts in this world. As long as the Heaven-Devouring Beast broke through to the Great Perfection Realm, it would be an invincible existence among Great Perfection Realm cultivators. At the very least, it would be a piece of cake for it to sweep through most Great Perfection Realm cultivators. Most importantly, if Little White could break through to the perfected stage, all the powerful immortal beasts in the Eastern region would serve him as their master, and the Eastern region would be as stable as Mount Tai. Once Whitey stabilized his position as the king of the Eastern region, a new king of the Eastern region would appear after a period of cultivation. Xiao Bai's personality seemed to be even more violent than the king of the Eastern region. The Bei family and Xiao Bai had a feud, and Xiao Bai almost died in the northern region. How could Xiao Bai not take revenge? The Bei family hinted to the Iron Armor tribe and the Long Hair tribe to do something, but they could not do it openly, and they could not leave any evidence behind. Otherwise, if they infuriated the king of the East region, not to mention the Long Hair race and the Iron Armor race, even the Bei clan would be in big trouble. The king of the Origin region had just died not long ago. The Steel Armor tribe and the Long Hair tribe arrived in the chaotic starfields. At first, everything went smoothly. They went to the Tong tribe and the Gang tribe and expressed their willingness to help them become overlords. These two clans originally had the heart to contend for hegemony. Now that there were major clans in the immortal realm supporting them, how could they not be moved? If it wasn't for the fact that Lu Li had seen through the situation, their plan would have succeeded. Once the Gang race and the Tong race took over the entire Chaotic Star region, how could Lu Li survive? Faced with the life and death of the Lu family, Lu Li had only one way to go, to ask for help from Little White. Fortunately, Lu Li had the Master God's map, so he was able to see through the situation at once. From now on, the Alliance of the Ten Masters was basically in control. After this battle, there was no longer any possibility of reversing the situation. The experts of the Iron Armor race were very clear that they could no longer rely on the Steel clan and Tong clan. Unless they mobilized a large number of experts and soldiers from the Immortal Realms, they wouldn't be able to threaten the safety of the Lu clan. Could they mobilize an army and experts from the Immortal region? It was obviously impossible. Since he had failed, he had to admit defeat. What was the point of staying here? The only reason he stayed was to find a chance to kill Lu Li. Actually, killing Lu Li was not a good plan. It was true that Little White might come out from cultivation after Lu Li was killed, but it would enrage Lu Xiao Bai. Once something was found out, the Iron Armor race and the Long Hair race would be wiped out by a furious Lu Xiao Bai with a group of powerful warriors. Hence, the best outcome would be to borrow the help of the Gang tribe and Tong tribe instead of doing it himself. That would be far too risky. Once the matter was exposed, the consequences would be dire. There was no need to put the Iron Armor race in danger just to get revenge on Lu Li. The experts of the Iron Armor race were very decisive, and so was the Long Hair race. They immediately ordered a retreat, leaving the experts of the Gang tribe to look at each other in dismay. How could they do this? It was the Long Hair race who asked them to send out their troops, and they were also the ones who made a lot of promises. Now that the final battle was about to break out, the Long Hair race immediately retreated. He was trying to push them into a pit to their deaths. Lu Li had been in the Law Realm all this while. When he discovered that the Immortal Realm experts of the Steel tribe had retreated, he gave the order to attack the Tuan tribe. He ordered the Tuan tribe to kill their way over and defeat the Steel tribe's main force, then take over their territory. However, Lu Li advised the Tuan race not to kill all of them, in case the Gang tribe at their peak became desperate. At the same time, Lu Li also ordered the Seal Temple to attack step by step and take over the territory of the Tong race. Similarly, he didn't push them too far and didn't want to kill all of them, so that the Tong race would have a chance to retreat. The orders he gave to the Tuan race and the Seal Temple had a hidden meaning: to force the two races to leave the chaotic star regions and let them develop in other galaxies. The two races must have ancestral lands. If they were to sneak into their ancestral lands, they would come out sooner or later. They each had two at the peak of the Gang tribe. They were like 4 ticking time bombs. If they didn't kill all of the two races and force them out of the chaotic star regions, they would have to establish themselves in other galaxies. By then, the major forces of those galaxies would keep them in check, and the 4 at the peak of the Gang tribe would not dare to come here and take the risk. Louis didn't have to worry about the follow-up. The armies of the two sides attacked the universes one by one, but they didn't attack the main forces of the Tong race and the Gang tribe directly. Messengers from both sides were sent to tell the two races to leave the chaotic star regions and that they wouldn't chase after them. Otherwise, even if they escaped to their ancestral lands, they would try their best to find them and wipe them out at all costs. The leaders of the two races immediately held an emergency meeting. The Gang tribe prepared to evacuate without any hesitation. They didn't lose too many powerful warriors. Their strength was still there. They could take a piece of land wherever they went and develop slowly. It was better than going back to their ancestral lands. To the Heaven Universe Galaxy. The Gang tribe made up their mind. They had their eyes on a piece of land, the Meng race's territory. The Meng race was still in a state of chaos. If they went there, they could take over a piece of land easily. They could even take over all of the Meng race's territory and become the overlord of the Heaven Universe Galaxy. Since the Gang tribe wanted to leave, they were more than happy to see them off. The armies of the Meng race continued to attack other universes. Rather than attack, it was more like taking over. One by one, they took over the universes. The Gang tribe teleported to the Gang tribe's main region. Battleships whooshed out and retreated to the chaotic star regions. With the Gang tribe gone, the Tong race was panicking. This time, the Tong race had lost too many powerful warriors that were close to the peak of the Gang tribe. The Tong race's vitality was sapped. The Tong race had planned to hide in their ancestral lands for some time. Now that the Gang tribe was gone, they were panicking. They had sent out word that if the Tong race dared to go back to their ancestral lands, they would try their best to find them and wipe out the Tong race at all costs. Let's go. The leaders of the Tong race discussed and decided to migrate as well. They even contacted the Gang tribe, wanting to go with them to the Heaven Universe Galaxy. If the two races joined forces, it would be easy to establish a foothold. They would first establish a foothold, then slowly develop. The Gang tribe was more than happy to do so. The Tong race's strength had been greatly damaged. When the time came, they would have to rely on the Gang tribe. With a free fighter, it would be much easier for them to establish a foothold in the Heaven Universe Galaxy. For peak experts was a very powerful force. It would not be difficult for them to establish a foothold in the Heaven Universe Galaxy. Thus, the two races left the chaotic star regions on their battleships. After meeting outside the star regions, they flew toward the Heaven Universe Galaxy together. Chapter 3649. After the two races left, the rest was simple. The army flew over majestically and took over the territories of the two races. Luli had been monitoring the situation of the two races and tracking the powerful warriors of the immortal region at the same time. When he noticed that the powerful warriors of the immortal region had flown some distance away and the two perfect perfection realm warriors had flashed in a battleship, he broke out in a cold sweat. Fortunately, he had not been careless and rarely revealed himself. Otherwise, he might have been assassinated by the two perfect perfection realm warriors. He thought about it and recorded the situation of the two perfect perfection realm warriors in the battleship. They were summoning the powerful warriors of the two races at the moment. Luli sensed them as soon as he tried to probe them. The two perfect perfection realm warriors felt like two frightened hedgehogs. Their hair stood on end, and they began to sense the situation around them at any time. Swish! After a while, the two perfect perfection realm warriors flew out. The powerful warriors in the battleship were all alarmed and flew out. This scene was recorded by Luli. The two perfect perfection realm warriors searched for a while, but found nothing. They looked at each other with shock in their eyes. One of the perfect perfection realm warriors shouted, "Which friend is nearby? Please show yourself." Luli was going to retract his psychic power after recording, but he thought about it and said, "Please tell the leaders of the two races that I have a temper. I will let this matter go. If you still dare to target me, I will kill my way to the immortal region. I will cut a few pieces of flesh from your two races, even if I have to risk my life." Luli's psychic power disappeared after he sent the message. The two perfect perfection realm warriors had been searching, but could not track Luli's location. The two perfect perfection realm warriors were shocked. Wasn't this traceless Tao too strong? Not even perfect perfection realm warriors could find him. Luli's arrogance enraged the two perfect perfection realm warriors. The two perfect perfection realm warriors wanted to kill their way back to find Luli and tear him apart. Perfect perfection realm warriors could not be humiliated. But on second thought, the two perfect perfection realm warriors tolerated it. If they could not find Luli, there was no point in going back. They couldn't kill Luli's family, could they? Force Luli to come out? They could not do such a thing. Plus, it would easily anger the king of the East region. Go back. The two absolute perfection stage experts waved their hands sullenly. Luli's warning to them still had some deterrence. The formation he set up in the realm of Black Sun had easily killed so many experts who were infinitely close to the absolute perfection stage. If Luli really went to the immortal region, there would be big trouble. He had a heaven-defying concealment technique. Even the great perfection realm cultivators couldn't find him, but he could constantly ambush and assassinate the experts of the two races. If he tormented them like this, the two races would be in dire straits. The two completed realm warriors were scared as well. They didn't know the map of the Almighty and thought that Luli was lurking nearby to investigate. However, they couldn't find Luli, which made them think that Luli's art of stealth was incredible. If they couldn't find Luli, then who could? They could not kill Luli, but Luli could. Naturally, they were afraid of him. The expert from the immortal region left, not stirring up any more trouble. Luli continued to monitor the situation from afar. After monitoring them for more than 10 days and making sure that they were far away, Luli was relieved. He checked the major universes of the chaotic star region again and relaxed when he made sure that everything was fine. He didn't worry about what was going on in the territories of the Tong race and the Gang race. He went to the main world of the Temple of Apothecary and used the token of the Grand Master of the Temple of Apothecary to activate the long-distance teleportation altar and teleported back to the Tianhua city. He didn't have to worry too much about what would happen next. As for the division of interests, he didn't have to negotiate. Wasn't Emperor Li with the Temple of Apothecary? Emperor Li could go and negotiate, and Li could send a message to Emperor Mo at any time. It had been so many years since he came back. To him, reuniting with his family was more important than anything else. Li disguised himself and arrived at the Tianhua city. He went directly to the Lu mansion in a low-key manner. The inhibition formation around the Lu mansion was deactivated. There were disciples of the Lu Alliance standing guard outside. Lu Li strode over. The guards at the gate were on high alert. Since the Tianhua city had just been in a battle, they had to be careful. "Who is it?" Two guards stopped Lu Li. Lu Li smiled and said, "We're on the same side. Don't panic." With that said, Lu Li changed his look to his own. But the next second, he changed back. The two guards came back to their senses. They were about to kneel when Lu Li patted their shoulders and said, "Don't make a noise. I don't want people in the city to know." Lu Li turned around and went in. The two escorts were so excited that they were trembling. After a while, the two escorts looked at each other. One of them asked excitedly, "Was that the royal Lu horse? Emperor Lu patted me on the shoulder?" "Yes." The other guard blushed. He rubbed his hands and said, "Emperor Lu patted me on the shoulder." The two escorts were thrilled. Lu Li had entered the inner mansion, which was guarded by powerful warriors. Now that Lu Li was in there, he could show himself in broad daylight. The Lu mansion was in a great uproar. Many people of the Lu family came out, overjoyed. A banquet was held at the Lu mansion. All the higher-ups of the Lu Alliance came. It was rare for Lu Li to be in such a good mood. He drank with them until midnight. At night, he asked his wives and concubines to sit down and talk about how they missed each other. Lu Li's return was not kept a secret for long. The news was spread out on the second day. Sovereign of Wings and the others came to greet him at once. Lu Li told them to keep it a secret. He didn't want to be entangled in trifles every day. Now that he was back, he must rest for a while. When Sovereign of Wings and the others came, Lu Li could tell that Lu Li's attitude was different. Before, they were on the same level. Now Lu Li felt that all the warriors that were almost at the perfect realm were humble and more like subordinates to him. It was not just a superficial attitude, but respect from the bottom of their bones. In the battle at the world of Black Sun, Lu Li killed an army of 10 million and more than 200 warriors that were almost at the perfect realm with just one formation. To the warriors of the Grim Reaper, Lu Li was even more ferocious than a warrior at the perfect realm. After this battle, Lu Li's influence would grow. He would be one of the most powerful warriors in the chaotic universe, not to mention the Grim Reaper. If Lu Li wanted to deal with a dominator, he could defeat them all by himself. He was also the leader of the Alliance, and he led the 9 dominators to victory. His prestige was unparalleled. Warriors of the Grim Reaper believed that in the future, as long as Lu Li's request was not too outrageous, the other races would respect him. Lu Li's position as the leader was temporary. That being said, he would be the most powerful warrior in the chaotic universe. Proud. That was how Sovereign of Wings and the other warriors that were almost at the perfect realm felt. They were convinced by Lu Li. In the past, they might have thought Lu Li was the uncrowned king. But now, they felt Lu Li was on a different level. It was like the difference between a warrior at the perfect realm and a warrior that was very close to it. They not only respected Lu Li, but also feared him. In the past, some great patriarchs might not be convinced. But now, they were proud of Lu Li. That was the difference. Chapter 3650. 2 months later, the territories of the Tong race and the Gang race were conquered. Their affiliated races either surrendered, left with the 2 races, or sneaked into their ancestral lands. The Gang race and the Tong race were going to the Universe region. The major races from the Immortal region had left. The war had come to an end. The Allies had won a complete victory. Naturally, it was time to divide the spoils of war. At the suggestion of a master, the leaders of the 10 masters gathered at the Apotheosis city, the main city of the Temple of Apotheosis, to discuss how to divide the territories. The Tong race's territory was occupied by the Temple of Apotheosis, and the Gang race's territory was occupied by the Tuan race. The territories of the 2 races were next to the Temple of Apotheosis and the Tuan race. Some of the other forces were in the same territory, and some were not. They could not divide the territories like this. All the territories had to be adjusted, and how to adjust them would require negotiations. Everyone wanted more territories, and everyone wanted more benefits. How the negotiations would be conducted would depend on the confidence and skills of each clan. In the main hall of the Apotheosis City, all the forces had come. There were 2 representatives, both of whom were leaders. The lowest was the second patriarch. Luli was not here. Emperor Li and Emperor Mo represented the Grim Reaper. Warriors of the Tuan race and the Temple of Apotheosis did not come. Warriors of the Tuan race and the Temple of Apotheosis would not come. Where is Alliance Leader Lu? Master of the Temple of Apotheosis asked Emperor Li. With Luli here, things would not be messy. Also, Luli had fought side by side with them. He would put in a few good words for them. Luli's words carried weight. Who would dare to say anything when he said so? I don't know. Emperor Li shook his head. He knew that Luli had gone back, but he did not want to expose his whereabouts. Emperor Li said, I think he went after the Gang race and the Tong race. He wants to make sure that the 2 races and the forces from the Immortal region have retreated. Thank you, Alliance Leader Lu. Yes, Alliance Leader Lu has done a great service. Thank you. The group of experts began to praise Lu Sheng, but a great elder of sovereign faction who was ranked near the back suddenly suggested, Alliance Master Lu has indeed worked hard and performed well. This old man suggests that we give all of the Gang tribe's territory to the Grim Reaper as a reward for Alliance Master Lu. The great elder's words silenced the entire place, and the atmosphere became extremely awkward. Emperor Li's eyes lit up. He was a little excited, but he quickly calmed down. This great elder seemed to be doing this for the Grim Reaper, but he actually had ulterior motives. The Gang tribe's territory was very far from Death God's. Unless Death God gave up all of his territory in the heaven-crossing boundary, he wouldn't be able to do anything. After operating in the Tianhua boundary for so long, how could the Grim Reaper give it up? The chief patriarch of the dominating force was smart. He was afraid that the Tuan race and the Temple of Apotheosis would snatch away most of the benefits. Therefore, he used Lu Li as a shield to suppress the Tuan race and the Temple of Apotheosis first. The Seal Temple Master and the Grand Elder of the Tuan tribe were a little embarrassed. This time, their 2 tribes and the Grim Reaper had contributed the most, so they naturally wanted to obtain the greatest benefits. Give all of the Gang tribe's territory to the Death God? How is that possible? The Gang tribe's territory had occupied the territory of the Tuan tribe. It was the most fertile land in the entire chaotic starfield. The Tuan tribe had been eyeing it for a long time. Of course, the Tuan race was too embarrassed to bring this up. The Seal Temple Master paused for a moment and said with a smile, If Death God is willing to give up his original territory, I have no objections. We will give all of the Gang tribe's territory to the Grim Reaper. A group of powerful warriors turned to Emperor Li, who said after a pause, No, we cannot give up the territory in the heaven-crossing boundary. Haha. Emperor Li's attitude displeased one of the dominating forces. He looked at Emperor Li and said, Emperor Li, are you saying that you want the territory in the heaven-crossing boundary in the Gang tribe's territory? You have such a big appetite. Aren't you afraid that you'll be too full? Have you asked Emperor Lu about this? About the Grim Reaper. Can you make the decision? Emperor Li was enraged. He stood up and said, Old you, what do you mean? I can't make the decision about the Grim Reaper? How dare you look down on me? Of course not. Old you grinned and said, I want you to go and ask Emperor Lu. Are you sure you want to take over such a large territory? Can your Grim Reaper take it all? Another patriarch of a dominating force said, The Alliance of 10 is fighting against the enemies and all the dominating forces have contributed. Now, there are 2 territories and the Grim Reaper wants only 1. Isn't this too much? We don't even have to eat. We can't even have a sip of soup. Emperor Li, your Grim Reaper is too much. The Deputy Master of the Fire Beacon Pavilion said, I don't think this is Emperor Lu's idea. It is Emperor Li's idea. I think you should ask Emperor Lu's opinion first. Right. Emperor Li, you cannot make the decision. Go and ask for instructions. Of the 9 masters, for had spoken. Their words were filled with provocation. They seemed to be trying to provoke Emperor Li. Based on their words, Emperor Li was stating that he could not represent the god of death. He was not a big deal, and Lu Li had to make a decision. Emperor Li had always been the leader of the Grim Reaper. He used to think that he was the Grim Reaper and that he was the Grim Reaper. Now, He was humiliated by the other forces. How could he swallow this humiliation? He slapped the table and bellowed. You don't have to ask for instructions. I can represent the Grim Reaper. We will take the gang race's territory. What's wrong? As far as Emperor Lee could tell, the Grim Reaper had played a decisive role in the fight against the gang race and the Tong race. If it were not for the Grim Reaper, the 10 dominators would have been wiped out, not to mention discussing the division of territories. Now that they had won, the other forces were working together against the Grim Reaper. How could he not be angry that they were burning bridges after crossing the river? Emperor Mo, however, felt something was off. It seemed that the other forces were working together to put pressure on Emperor Lee. That was not normal. Lu Li was the leader of the alliance, and he had made a great contribution. Not only were the dominators not grateful, but they were working together against the Grim Reaper. What were they trying to do? Emperor Mo thought for a while, and soon he figured out. Lu Li had made a great contribution. In terms of contribution, it would not be an exaggeration to give the gang race's territory to the Grim Reaper. However, if the gang race's territory was given to the Grim Reaper, the other forces would not be happy, especially the forces at the bottom of the ranking. They might not even get a share of the spoils. Therefore, the gang race decided to retreat for the sake of advancing and then irritate Emperor Li on purpose. Did they gain the upper hand first? Later, if Lu Li came forward, there would be room for negotiation, wouldn't there? What was more, the Tuan race and the Temple of Apotheosis would not be happy if the Grim Reaper took over the gang race's territory. The Tuan race and the Temple of Apotheosis would work together to isolate the Grim Reaper. Could Lu Li fight against the 9 dominators? Emperor Mo sent a message to Emperor Li at once, telling him not to fall for the trap. But Emperor Li was in a fit of rage. How could he listen? He stood there, fuming like a fool. The Temple of Apotheosis and the Tuan race were not happy. They were about to say something when a voice came from the hall. What is going on? The war has just ended. Are you going to work together against the Grim Reaper? If so, Emperor Li and Emperor Mo, come back with your teams. We don't want the territory anymore. Give it to them. The voice came from the hall without warning. The tone was calm, as if it was a conversation between old friends. But the entire hall quieted down as soon as the voice was heard. All the powerful warriors sat up straight out of instinct because the voice belonged to Lu Li. Emperor Li and Emperor Mo were surprised as well. Wasn't Lu Li at the Tianyue city? How'd he come here? But Emperor Li and Emperor Mo did not question Lu Li's words. Emperor Li was still unhappy, but since Lu Li had spoken, he did not dare to say anything. Let's go. Emperor Li snorted and left. Emperor Mo glanced at everyone with a cold smile and left in strides. Before the other powerful warriors could ask them to stay, Emperor Li and Emperor Mo had already left the hall and vanished from the sight of the powerful warriors. The entire place was still deathly silent, but the unease in the eyes of all the experts was extremely obvious. Cold sweat broke out on the foreheads of some of the weaker experts from the ruler clans, and their hearts were extremely uneasy. Lu Li seemed to be angry. P.S. 4 chapters tomorrow. Chapter 36:51. There was no affection or morality between forces. There was only interest. When the Alliance of 10 was in danger, they had to band together. Back then, they were brothers, working together to tide over the difficulties. Now that the crisis was over, the forces would put their own interests above all else. Who wouldn't want to fight for more territory? With more territory came more resources. With more resources, more powerful warriors could be nurtured. In this virtuous cycle, the situation would be better and better. Everyone knew that Lu Li had contributed the most this time. Without him, all the forces would be doomed. That being said, when it came to sharing interests, no one was willing to be outdone. They were well aware that under normal circumstances, the Grim Reaper would have the largest share, and then the Tuan race and the gang race would have a small share. The other forces would only get some leftovers. Therefore, the forces didn't contact each other. They worked together to resist the Grim Reaper. Only when the Grim Reaper gave in could the negotiations be easier. Otherwise, there would be nothing to talk about. Of course, this was also because Luli was not here. Otherwise, they wouldn't be so presumptuous. In a negotiation, they could ask for an exorbitant price, or they could offer a reasonable price. At the negotiating table, it didn't matter what was said. Otherwise, it wouldn't be a negotiation. Little did they expect that Luli would intervene. Never mind that he intervened. Come in and talk. What are your demands? Let's discuss. Only when there was negotiation could there be magnanimity. How come Luli turned against them without a word? No more. If you want it, you can have it all. The 9 dominators were aggrieved and frightened. It hadn't been long since the death of the more than 200 warriors who were infinitely close to the absolute completion realm. That scene was recorded by the Crystal of Memory. Almost all the powerful warriors had seen it. How could the 9 dominators not be afraid when so many had died so miserably? More importantly, Luli's art of hiding seemed to be undetectable even by those at the absolute completion realm. In other words, if Luli wanted to do something to them, not even those at the absolute completion realm would be able to help. Those forces without absolute completion realm warriors were even less capable. It would be a piece of cake for Luli to destroy them. Those forces with absolute completion realm warriors were not afraid of Luli. Their absolute completion realm warriors could kill their way to the Tianhua city. By then, the Grim Reaper wouldn't be able to survive. After all, the Grim Reaper didn't have a warrior at the absolute completion realm. However, if a battle really broke out, it would definitely be a situation where both sides would suffer. The chaotic starfield had experienced a great war more than 100 years ago, and now it had experienced another great war. The Gang tribe and the Tong tribe had been expelled, and the entire chaotic starfield had become weak. They were at the bottom of the 8 major starfields. If the war continued, it would not be a good thing for the chaotic starfields. If they were targeted by other starfields, they would all be doomed. All the major forces knew in their hearts that it was impossible for them to fight this civil war. What was more, Luli seemed to be on good terms with the son of the King of the East. Also, Luli's reputation in the 8 galaxies was something they needed to leverage to deter the forces of the 8 galaxies. Now that Luli was turning hostile, how could the other forces stay calm? The experts from the various forces were stunned. They looked at each other and finally came to their senses. The Seal Temple Master reacted the fastest. He immediately flew out and blocked Emperor Li and Emperor Mo. He cupped his hands together and said, "Brother Lu, please wait. Emperor Li, Emperor Mo, please wait." Luli didn't come. As soon as Emperor Li and Emperor Mo walked out of the palace, Emperor Li said emotionlessly, "Grandmaster Long, there's nothing to talk about. We don't want to talk anymore, okay? You don't want us, the god of death, to give you some regions." Luli's words boosted Emperor Li's confidence, and he began to take control of the situation. Emperor Mo didn't say anything as well. The other forces were not being fair. Naturally, they would not be nice to them. The Seal Temple Master looked around and cupped his fists again. "Where is Brother Lu? Come out and let's talk. Isn't that what we were discussing? How can we target the god of death? I don't care about the other forces, but the Seal Temple will not target the god of death. Brother Lu, don't worry. Let's not talk." Luli's voice came again. It was faint as if he was speaking from the sky. He continued, "I don't want to interfere in your discussion. Emperor Li and Emperor Mo are my brothers. Bullying them is bullying me. I will not do that. I don't like to make trouble, but I am not afraid of it. Back then, the Dun race, the rhinoceros ape race, and now, the Gang race and the Tong race. They were the ones who provoked me first. Okay, go on. I will leave now. Brother Long, come and visit the Tianhua city when you have time." With that said, Li's voice vanished. Emperor Li and Emperor Mo suddenly stood up. The next second, Emperor Li pulled a long face because Li had sent him a message. "Let Emperor Mo handle the negotiation. You are not young anymore. You are still so impulsive." Li's tone was almost scolding. Even though it was through telepathy, Emperor Li still felt humiliated. Emperor Li tracked down Li's psychic power. He wanted to find out where Lu Li was and explain. However, he could not find Lu Li after some searching. He touched his nose in embarrassment. On the other side, Emperor Mo received Lu Li's message as well. Lu Li gave Emperor Mo his bottom line. Rustle, rustle, rustle. In the hall, patriarchs and masters of different forces came out and tried to persuade Emperor Li and Emperor Mo to go in for another round of negotiation. Those leaders were frightened. What did Lu Li mean by mentioning the Dun race, the rhinoceros ape race, the Tong race, and the Gang race? Clearly, Lu Li was telling them that if they were more powerful than the 5 races, they could have fun. If they were not as powerful as the 5 races, then they should keep a low profile. The 5 races were all powerful, especially the Dun race and the Dun race. They were super races. They were not even as powerful as the Gang race and the Tong race. How could they have the courage to mess with Lu Li? A group of higher-ups hurriedly tried to persuade Emperor Li and Emperor Mo to enter. The negotiation continued, but the forces did not know what to do. Were they really going to hand over the Gang race's territory to the Grim Reaper? What else was there to talk about? Lu Li would turn hostile at the slightest provocation. There was no room for negotiation. After a moment of silence, Master of Temple of Seal said, Emperor Li, Emperor Mo, what do the Grim Reaper mean? Tell us, so that we can have an answer. The Grim Reaper has made the greatest contribution this time, and Emperor Lu should take the most credit. But the other forces have done their part, so I hope you can take care of them. You go ahead. If it's not too much, I don't think you will be unreasonable. Emperor Li pulled a long face and said nothing. Lu Li's authority over the Grim Reaper was absolute. Emperor Li was not happy, but he could not do it openly. Emperor Mo thought for a while and said, we want 2,000 of the universes to the north of the Grim Reaper. You could divide the rest. How you do it is your business. The Grim Reaper will not interfere. As a matter of fact, Lu Li's bottom line for Emperor Mo was 1,000. Emperor Mo wanted to double the number so that there would be room for negotiation. Emperor Mo agreed with Lu Li's suggestion. The Gang race's territory was good, but it was too far away. They had been managing the Heaven Crossing region for a long time. The Grim Reaper would not give it up. 1,000 was more than enough. Not even the Grim Reaper could take all of them. As soon as Emperor Mo finished his words, all the leaders' eyes glowed. They had thought that Lu Li wanted all of the Gang race's territory and was willing to turn hostile when they saw how aggressive Lu Li was. They didn't expect that he only wanted 2,000 universes and the territory to the north of the Grim Reaper. Okay, the Temple of Seal has no objection. Alliance Master Lu has done a great job, and the Grim Reaper has done a lot. It is reasonable. The Tuan race has no objection as well. The Fire Beacon Pavilion agrees. We have no objection. What made Emperor Mo speechless was that all the forces seemed to be afraid that the Grim Reaper would go back on his word. Without any bargaining, they all agreed at once. Chapter 3652. The territory of the Gang race was a juicy piece of meat. If Lu Li insisted, should they give it up or not? As long as Lu Li didn't want the territory of the Gang race, everything else was negotiable. 2,000 universes were nothing. The Gang race and the Tong race had at least 7,000 or 8,000 universes in total. Lu Li wouldn't mind giving 2,000 universes. To the north of the territory of the God of Death was the territory of a weaker dominator. The Gang race could give them 3,000 universes from the Tuan race, and the dominator wouldn't say anything. There were rich and poor universes. The Tuan race could give some barren universes. Now that Lu Li's side was settled, the rest was easy. After a day or two of negotiations, the territory was settled. The Tuan race occupied the territory of the Gang race. Of course, the Tuan race made concessions by giving up most of their territories. The territory of the Tong race was taken by the Temple of Apotheosis. Similarly, the Temple of Apotheosis gave up most of their territories to the other dominator forces. Now that the land had been settled, there was one more important thing to deal with. This was something that all the dominant forces were very concerned about. The chaotic starfield really could not afford to have another war, especially between the dominant forces. This time, the chaotic starfield's vitality had been damaged. The 10 dominators discussed for several days and drafted another agreement. Within 1,000 years, the 10 of them could not start a war with each other. If any force started a war, the other 9 forces would join hands to destroy it. No reason, no matter. If there was a problem, the Hall of Adjudication would vote. To start a war would be a breach of contract. The other 9 forces would not care about anything and would just destroy the Dominator. This agreement was written very clearly. It was a huge deterrent to all the major forces. The 10 Dominators also knew that they couldn't afford any more internal strife. The chaotic starfield had to recuperate and recover. Otherwise, if the nest was overturned, there would be no eggs left intact. Everyone would be finished. There was another problem. The 10 Dominators had 10 votes. What if it was 5-5? In the end, Grandmaster of the Temple of Apotheosis suggested that Lu Li was the leader. The alliance would continue to exist, and Lu Li would continue to be the leader. Then, Lu Li would have 1 vote. So, there would be 11. The proposal made some of the Dominator forces uneasy. Lu Li was strong. Could he develop a real leader at this rate? By then, the God of Death might become the second Tuan race. To the surprise of some of the higher-ups, the Tuan tribe also agreed to this proposal. Since the 2 strongest forces had agreed, what else could the other forces say? The Temple of Seal's suggestion made sense. The Grim Reaper had not reached the consummate level, so the possibility of it becoming the number 1 overlord was almost 0. They had a deep understanding of Lu Li's personality. He was indeed the kind of person who would not offend others if they did not offend him. Lu Li was still a figurehead and didn't have much real power. Everyone had signed an agreement not to start a war within 1,000 years. Since there was no war, it was not a big deal. What was the use of the Judiciary Hall if there were no major events? What would it matter to give Lu Li some false reputation if he were to be judged on trivial matters? The other most important reason was the same as before: to use Lu Li as a shield. The heavenly chaotic star territory was in a weakened state. If the powerful races from other galaxies had evil intentions and wanted to attack the chaotic star region, Lu Li, as the leader of the alliance, would take the lead. Outside forces would want to kill Lu Li first. Lu Li had some fame in the 8 galaxies, and he could intimidate the other 7. Lu Li was the leader of the alliance. Once something like this happened, how could Lu Li, the leader of the alliance, stand by and do nothing? By then, Lu Li's skills in stealth and assassination would come in handy. Also, Lu Li's background as the master of the Eastern region would be helpful as well. Giving Lu Li a false reputation and some false power could push him to the teeth of the storm. The Temple of Seal and the Tuan race would gain tangible benefits. They were not idiots. Naturally, they would be happy to do it. Emperor Li and Emperor Mo were happy as well. Emperor Li, in particular, was excited. He agreed on behalf of Lu Li. Lu Li was the leader, and the Grim Reaper was the most powerful force in name. The Grim Reaper was the overlord of the heavenly chaotic star region. Back in the days, the Grim Reaper was just a small assassin organization. Generations of ancestors worked hard, and the Grim Reaper grew stronger. Now, the Grim Reaper had become the overlord of the heavenly chaotic star region. How could Emperor Li and Emperor Mo not be excited? Either way, the Grim Reaper would leave a mark in the history of the Grim Reaper. Emperor Mo had some idea of what the Temple of Seal and the Tuan race were thinking, but his vision was not as broad. He did not consider the 7 galaxies. What he was thinking was the help the Grim Reaper would receive from the Grim Reaper. The Temple of Seal and the Tuan race did not care about the false reputation. The Grim Reaper needed it. Once again, the Grim Reaper had gained 2,000 universes. The resources were increased. They could use a large number of resources to train and recruit powerful warriors. They had territory and resources. Now, they were being given a name? This was good stuff. With a false reputation, many talents would be attracted to the Grim Reaper. As long as the Grim Reaper extended an olive branch, many smaller races would be tempted. The Grim Reaper did not rise from one big race. Therefore, the future of the Grim Reaper was to attract many races to work together. One rope could be cut off easily. What about 100 or 10,000 entangled together? By then, it would be difficult to cut it off. Lu Li's title as the Grim Reaper's leader could bring great benefits to the Grim Reaper. It would be of great help to the development of the Grim Reaper. How could Emperor Li and Emperor Mo not be pleased? When the news was sent back to the Grim Reaper was overjoyed. The Lu Mansion was overjoyed. Disciples of the Lu Mansion were in high spirits. They walked around with their heads held high. Disciples of the Lu Alliance were proud as well. Many smaller races invited disciples of the Lu Alliance to banquets to build a good relationship with the Lu Alliance. They all knew that the Lu Alliance was about to soar. The Lu Alliance's faction was definitely the leader of the Grim Reaper. However, the Lu Mansion was not so happy. Not only was Lu Li not happy when he heard the news, he even scolded, "Idiots." It was obvious who he was scolding. He was referring to Emperor Li and Emperor Mo. Jiang Qiling and Bai Qiuxue did not understand, but Lu Ling did. She explained the intricacies to the others. Naturally, the Lu family warriors were not in a good mood. They did not want Lu Li to be the Grim Reaper's leader. They only hoped that he would not be under so much pressure and would not take risks. Leader, sitting in the backyard by himself, Lu Li sneered. He never cared about empty titles. He knew very well that such titles would not bring him many benefits. Instead, he would have to bear great pressure. First of all, if the Steel race and the Tong race wanted revenge, the first person they would kill would be Lu Li. Never mind. Lu Li thought about it. After all, the Steel race and the Tong race were already at odds with each other. If the two races could gain a firm foothold and rise, they would deal with him sooner or later. Lu Li thought about it for a while. A glint of ferocity rose in his eyes. Since he would have to fight the two races sooner or later, he might as well strike first. Chapter 3653. The Tong race and the Gang race went to the Tianyu galaxy together. Lu Li had eavesdropped on their conversation and knew that they were going to take over the territory of the Meng race. The Meng race's territory was still in a mess. Who could stop the four warriors of the Tong race and the Gang race? What Lu Li feared the most was that the two races would unite and form a force. If that were the case, then not even the overlords of the Tianyu galaxy could keep them in check. Unless several overlords attacked the Gang race and the Tong race at the same time, they could not stop the two races from taking over the territory of the Meng race. Once the two races took over the territory, the other overlords would have to acknowledge the status of the two races. There would be one or two more overlords in the Tianyu galaxy. Given dozens of years of rest, the two races could gain a stable foothold. By then, the two races would find ways to get back at him. If it were not for him, the Gang race and the Tong race would have succeeded. What was more, Lu Li had killed so many powerful warriors of the Tong race who were close to the absolute completion. The feud was irreconcilable. Lu Li could at least find a way to kill his family to vent his anger. Now that the feud was over, Lu Li would not let it go easily. He decided to strike first. He might not wipe out the two races, but at least he could stop them from gaining a stable foothold in the Tianyu galaxy. He could not let them rise. He wanted to tire them out so that they could cope with the pressure from the Tianyu galaxy. He wanted them to have a hard time so that they could not make trouble here. Having made up his mind, Lu Li used the map to track down the two races and find out their situation. After spending more than an hour, he found the two races. With a vast number of battleships, it was too easy to find them. They were not far away from the Tianyu galaxy. They would arrive there in about a month or two. Lu Li didn't dare to check the top floor of the battleship because he could feel that the consummate warrior was there. He quietly sensed the patriarchs and eavesdropped on their conversation. After a while, Lu Li pulled a long face. His prediction was right. The two races had united and formed a new force with a new cabinet of patriarchs. Currently, half of the patriarchs in the cabinet of patriarchs of the two forces were equal in power. But clearly, the Gang race had the dominant position. Hall of Blood feud. Hearing the name of the new force, Lu Li's murderous intent intensified. This name was clearly targeted at him. It was probably given by the Tong clan. Too many experts and soldiers of the Tong clan had died in his hands. This was truly a blood feud. The killing intent in Lu Li's heart grew stronger. He retracted his psychic power after a moment of observation. It would take some time for the gang race and the Tong race to investigate the situation. The actual attack would not take long, but the preparation would take longer. Lu Li believed it would take at least half a year for the two races to launch the real attack. Therefore, he wasn't in a hurry. He had just returned, so it was better for him to spend more time with his family. With him overseeing Tianyue City, the Grim Reaper's heart would be at ease. His faction would also be more stable. He had been absent for such a long time, and the experts of his faction were probably unhappy. There was one more thing. The divine inscriptions of the Lu residents needed to be rearranged. Blood Fairy was good at arranging divine inscriptions. Not even a warrior at the peak of the divine inscriptions could crack it in one move. As long as the warrior at the peak of the divine inscriptions could not crack it instantly, then Lu Li's family would have a chance to leave by teleportation formation. The safety of his family was of utmost importance to him. He would only set off after Blood Fairy was done with the formation. The core divine inscriptions that Blood Fairy was building were in the backyard. Lu Li would tell her to keep it activated. Everyone would use the teleportation altar to go in and out. It would be troublesome, but it was safer. In the following days, Lu Li spent all his time with his family. Occasionally, he would visit the universes of the Lu Alliance and meet with powerful warriors of his faction. His life was fulfilling. He would not interfere with the Grim Reaper's affairs. It was not a big deal. If anything happened, Emperor Mo and Sovereign of Wings would report to him at once. The Grim Reaper had acquired 2,000 universes. All the leaders of the Grim Reaper were busy taking over the 2,000 universes. At the same time, they began to use Lu Li's influence to recruit powerful warriors and talents. It would be a shame not to take advantage of such a good opportunity. The leaders of the entire Chaotic Star region knew that the title of the Grim Reaper was a hollow one. The warriors of the smaller forces only saw that Lu Li worked together with the 10 Masters to defeat the Tong race and the Gang race and force them out of the Chaotic Star region. In the Dark Sun, Lu Li killed an army of 10 million and more than 200 warriors that were close to the consummate realm all by himself. Lu Li's reputation was at its peak. He was the leader of the 10 Masters. The 10 Masters were the rulers of the Chaotic Star region. If Lu Li could become the leader of the 10 forces, wouldn't he be the most powerful warrior in the Chaotic Star region? Also, Lu Li was still young. With the Grim Reaper's intentional promotion, Lu Li had become the idol of many young warriors. The Grim Reaper also issued an announcement to recruit young elites, regardless of their background or abilities. As long as they had the potential, the Grim Reaper would train them with great efforts. The Grim Reaper's recruitment was not only in the Chaotic Star region, but also in the other 7 galaxies. The war at the Chaotic Star region had attracted the attention of the other 7 galaxies. After all, it was a war between superforces. Lu Li was already famous. After the war, his name was even more well-known. During this time, many young warriors came to seek shelter. There were also some small races that had no future in their original universe, so they came to try their luck with the Grim Reaper. Unfortunately, not many powerful warriors that were close to the consummate realm came to seek shelter. Those that were supposed to come had all come. Warriors of the consummate realm in the Chaotic Star region were working for the 10 Masters or were affiliated to other forces. The Grim Reaper would be crossing the line if they poached powerful warriors from the other 9 Masters. The other 9 Masters wouldn't say anything if the Grim Reaper openly recruited warriors of their own volition. But to poach powerful warriors in secret was crossing a line. The other 9 Masters didn't want to be outdone. They began to recruit elites of the younger generation and train more powerful warriors. The 10 Masters agreed that they would not resort to violence for 1,000 years. During this time, the 10 Masters planned to train more powerful warriors to enhance the overall strength of the Chaotic Star region. The systems of the Grim Reaper were complete. Lu was the absolute core of the Grim Reaper, and he was a deterrent. Many great patriarchs of the Grim Reaper saw with their own eyes that Lu's divine patterns killed more than 200 warriors that were close to the consummate realm. The great patriarchs of the Grim Reaper shuddered at the memory. As long as Lu was alive, the Grim Reaper wouldn't be in chaos, and no great patriarch would dare to do anything. There was also the matter of Guyushan. His head was still hanging above the Tianyue city. The Grim Reaper stepped up its surveillance on the great patriarchs. Anyone that violated the rule would be killed without mercy. For months later, the Grim Reaper's situation was stabilized. Lu was ready to take action. Same as before, Lu told Lu Ling and Emperor Mo that he was going to close door cultivation. Then, he snuck away and flew toward the universe region. Chapter 36:54. All the chiefs of the Sky Universe Star region had some understanding of the situation in the heavenly chaotic star regions. They also knew that the Gang race and the Tong race were here. However, these chiefs were not all harmonious. They were divided into 8 factions, and some of the major factions had blood feuds. It was unrealistic for them to work together to deal with the Gang race and the Tong race. Most importantly, the Gang race and the Tong race had a total of 4 Perfection Realm experts. They were at the end of their rope now. If they tried to stop them, there would probably be a bloody battle. There were also chiefs who wanted to stop the Gang race and the Tong race. For example, the Glass race and the Rhino Ape race wanted it. The Gang race and the Tong race were obviously coming for the Meng race's territory. Once they took over the territories of the 2 races, they would have a powerful neighbor, especially the Rhino Ape race. Their king was dead, and there was no Perfection Realm expert in the race. If the Gang race and the Tong race gained a foothold, they might attack them. These 2 races had 4 Perfection Realm experts. How could the Rhino Ape race resist them? The 2 armies stopped outside the Sky Universe Star region. They did not enter recklessly. Instead, they mobilized a large number of elite scouts. Among them, there were some experts who were infinitely close to the Perfection Realm. They all had the command token of their king. These experts brought gifts to meet the elders of some of the chiefs. They were trying to smooth the relationship. They knew the situation in the Sky Universe Star region better. Although there were more than 10 chiefs, there were only 5 true super factions. As long as these 5 factions did not interfere, the chances of them gaining a foothold were very high. Coincidentally, these 5 factions were not very close to the Meng race's territory. If they occupied the Meng race's territory, it would not affect the 5 super factions much. Hence, the Gang race and the Tong race prepared to send gifts to the 5 super factions. They promised to do so every year. All they wanted was a place to stay. As long as the 5 super factions did not interfere, it would be too easy for them to take over the Meng race's territory. Without the 5 super factions' approval, the Gang race and the Tong race did not enter recklessly. Hundreds of thousands of battleships were parked outside. Since most of the clansmen were martial artists, they would be fine even if they did not eat or drink for a few years. It was just that the atmosphere was a little stifling and anxious. In the blink of an eye, 2 months had gone by. An elder had returned with news that 2 of the 5 superpowers had agreed to the proposal. To these 2 superpowers, the Tong clan and Gang clan posed no threat to them. They had no way of occupying the Meng tribe's territory, so if they gave it to the Tong tribe, the Gang tribe would receive an annual tribute, so why not? The Gang tribe and Tong tribe were extremely excited. Now, all they had to do was wait for the other 3 factions' feedback. A portion of the scouts had already returned from scouting. With the strength of the 2 clans, taking down the Meng tribe's territory was too easy. The Rhinoceros Ape race, the Glass race, and the other overlord, the Water Fish Palace, posed no threat to them. They also learned that the Rhinoceros Ape race was disgraced by Lu. They had lost many powerful warriors, and their prestige was at rock bottom. If they could take over the Meng tribe's territory and gain a firm foothold, they could expand towards the Rhino Ape tribe's territory and swallow it up. They could even be bolder and conquer the Glass race's territory. At that time, they would absorb some factions and experts, and they would become the supreme overlords of the Tianyu star field. They would be able to call the wind and summon the rain here. When they grew stronger, they could continue to develop here or lead their armies and powerful warriors back. They could attack or retreat at will. When the news was spread out, the two races' powerful warriors, families, and affiliated forces were all in high spirits. They were driven out of the chaotic star region like stray dogs. They had thought their future was bleak. Now, there was a glimmer of hope. After another month or so, two more superpowers had agreed to Zero Wing's proposal. After some discussion, the leaders of the Gang tribe and the Tong tribe decided not to wait. All their people and powerful warriors would go to the Tianyu star region directly. It would take them 2 or 3 months to get to the Meng tribe's territory anyway. They could wait. Luli arrived 1 month after they went to the Tianyu star region. Luli didn't hurry along the way. Instead, he took his time. Through the map, he could keep track of the Tong tribe and the Gang tribe. As long as the two races did not gain a firm foothold, he wouldn't be in a hurry. He would wait until the two races attacked the Meng tribe's territory before he took action. Along the way, Luli had been thinking about how to weaken the two races. For one thing, he wanted to take action in person. For another, he wanted to borrow their strength. There were 4 absolute warriors here. If he were to be noticed by them, he would be in danger. Who could say for sure that the absolute warriors could not sense the traceless path? What if one of the great perfection deities of these two races could sense it? Therefore, Luli planned to get some races involved. If some of them worked together, Luli could fish in troubled waters. At the same time, he could put some pressure on the Tong tribe and the Gang tribe. If they became enemies with the major races nearby, it would be difficult for them to gain a firm foothold. Luli thought for a while. He locked onto the Rhino Ape City on the map and found the chief patriarch of the Rhino Ape race, the current leader. The current leader of the Rhino Ape race was in a castle. He was not in closed-door cultivation. Instead, he was looking at the map. Luli had an idea after a glance. He said directly, "Leader of the Rhino Ape race, long time no see. How have you been?" Luli's sudden voice startled the leader of the Rhino Ape race. The voice was familiar. The leader's hair stood on end. The leader of the Rhino Ape race used psychic power. He could not sense anything in the manner. A glint of coldness rose in his eyes as he shouted, "Luli, didn't we have a deal? Are you going back on your word?" "Ha ha." Luli smiled and replied, "Don't worry. I am not here to cause you trouble. I am here to solve your problems." "Solve problems?" The leader of the Rhino Ape race snorted. He kept searching with psychic power. Making sure that he could not find Luli, he shouted, "Show yourself. What are you hiding for?" "Stop looking." Luli replied, "Not even a complete warrior of your race can find me. Not to mention you haven't made the breakthrough yet. Are we going to talk or not? If not, I am leaving. Just wait for your Rhino Ape race to be wiped out." The leader of the Rhino Ape race's eyes flickered. There was an idea in his mind telling him not to talk to Luli. This was asking a tiger for its skin. That being said, he dared not to offend Luli. He thought about it and said, "What do you want?" "I am here for the Tong tribe and the Gang tribe." Luli came straight to the point. "I have bad blood with the two races, and I don't want them to have a good time. The two races want to invade the territory of the Meng race. Given their abilities, it will be a piece of cake for them to take down the Meng race. Once they gain a foothold, you Rhino Ape race will not have a complete warrior. I don't think I need to tell you what will happen." What Luli mentioned was exactly what the leader of the Rhino Ape race was worried about. He was looking at the map and thinking about it. He had been in closed-door cultivation, trying to reach the complete warrior. However, he was alarmed by the arrival of the Tong tribe and the Gang tribe. He had to come out to deal with the matter. After a moment of silence, he asked, "What do you have in mind?" "It is simple." Luli went straight to the point. "Go and work with the glazed race, the Palace of Aqua Fish, and the Palace of Tranquility. The 4 of you will work together to stop the Tong race and the Meng race. You can use me as a bargaining chip. Say that you have asked me to help. You have the glazed race, the Palace of Aqua Fish, and the Palace of Tranquility to stall the Tong race and the Gang race. I will deal with the other warriors who are close to the complete warrior." The three races will not suffer too many losses, but they will be happy to get rid of a thorn in their side. P.S. Chapter 4 added. Chapter 3655. The rhinoceros apes were intrigued by Lu Li's words. Everyone knew about the feud between Lu Li and the Tong race and the Gang race. It was understandable that Lu Li wanted to wipe out the Tong race and the Gang race. It was impossible to rely on the rhinoceros ape tribe to suppress the Tong and Gang tribes, but borrowing the power of the Glass tribe's Waterfish Palace and Tranquil Peace Palace was a very good idea. By using Lu Li as a bargaining chip, he would have the confidence to negotiate with the three forces. The Meng tribe's territory was next to the rhinoceros ape tribe, the Waterfish Palace, and the Glass tribe. A small part of the Peaceful Peace Palace was also next to them, so they could be considered a threat as well. The Tong tribe and the Steel tribe had clearly merged together, and the four paragons were giving everyone a lot of pressure. If the Tong tribe and the Steel tribe were to gain a foothold, everyone would have a hard time. Let's just go and have a chat. There's nothing to lose anyway. Master of the rhinoceros race was intrigued. He discussed some details with Lu Li. Then he sent some patriarchs to the border area to the palace of Tranquil Peace of the palace of Aqua Fish of the Gladius race. Then, through their teleportation altar, they could go to their main world to communicate with the three forces. The three forces were shocked when they received the news. The rhinoceros ape race had invited Lu Li to deal with the Tong race and the Gang race together. What was more, the rhinoceros ape race stated that they would only ask for the three forces help to contain the warriors of the Tong race and the Gang race, leaving the rest to them and Lu Li. Is there such a good thing? It wasn't that the three major forces hadn't thought of attacking the Tong clan and Steel clan, but they were wary of the four Great Perfection stage cultivators on the other side. He also thought that the Tong clan and Gang clan were stray dogs. If they were to clash with the two clans, there would definitely be a bloody battle. At that time, both sides would suffer. Now that the rhinoceros ape race and Lu Li were willing to take the lead, they were more than happy to do so. They were only going to intimidate and distract the warriors of the Tong race and the Gang race. They were not going to start a war, so they would not suffer any loss. As for offending the Tong clan and Gang clan, so what? Now that the Tong and Gang tribes had gained a foothold, they would have to face them sooner or later. Immediately, the four great forces came to an agreement. The Glass race, the Waterfish Palace, and the Peaceful Peace Palace each sent out a Great Perfection paragon. Their armies numbered in the millions, but the three races did not send out any powerhouses who were infinitely close to the Great Perfection paragon. Didn't your rhinoceros ape race say so? Leave the rest to you? After all, we're just putting on a show. When necessary, we will stall the warriors of the Tong race and the Gang race. Lu Li and the Rhino Ape race will be in charge of wiping out the powerful warriors and armies of the two races. The Rhino Ape tribe then sent out a few more elders to the six factions in the Meng tribe's territory. The Meng tribe's territory had long been divided by the six great powers. However, the six great powers were not strong enough to swallow all of the Meng tribe's territory. That was why they had fought for so many years. Originally, it wasn't just the six great forces, but the 9 great forces. After fighting for so many years, the 3 great forces had already retreated, leaving only the 6 great forces. During this period of time, the 6 major factions were also in a state of panic. They knew that the Tong tribe and the Gang tribe were coming for them, so they were hesitating on whether to resist, surrender, or retreat. Once the elders of the Rhino Ape race went over, the 6 major powers immediately joined forces. When the 6 great forces heard that the Rhino Ape clan, Calm Peace Hall, Waterfish Palace, and the Glass clan were helping them defend against the Steel clan and Tong clan, how could they not cooperate? They were talking about the 4 overlords, especially the Calm Peace Hall, which had 2 consummate warriors. How could they not suppress the Steel clan and Tong clan with the help of the 4 forces? With the Rhino Ape race in the middle, the matter was basically settled, and it was done discreetly. Lu Li would discuss with the leader of the Rhino Ape race from time to finalize all the details. The fishing net was ready. Now, All they had to do was to wait for the Steel Clan and the Tong Clan to come in. The Steel Clan and the Tong Clan were not far away now. They would arrive in a month at most. Along the way, they behaved themselves and didn't dare to enter any universes in case the other forces misunderstood them. They flew directly to the Meng tribe's territory. Just a few days ago, they received a message from the last major force. That force had acquiesced to what they were doing, but they demanded double the annual tribute. So be it. The Steel Clan and the Tong Clan didn't mind. As long as they could gain a foothold, they didn't mind giving more resources. If they couldn't gain territory, they wouldn't get anything. It was just a pie in the sky. More importantly, the Rhino Ape race and the Glaze race near the Meng tribe's territory were weak. The Tong Clan and the Steel Clan had a good chance to expand. They didn't mind giving up some resources. Powerful warriors of the Steel Clan and the Tong Clan were cheered up as well. They were like stray dogs. They had thought that they would be met with resistance or even annihilated here. Now, everything seemed to be going well. Soon, they could gain a large territory and continue to be an overlord. Move faster. The Steel Clan leader, the Grand Master of the Hall of Blood Feud, ordered. He was afraid that a long delay would bring trouble. Also, he mobilized a large number of scouts to investigate the situation at the Meng tribe's territory. The cooked duck must not fly away. This battle concerned the life and death of the Steel Clan and the Tong Clan. They could not afford any mishaps. Half a month later, they were not far from the Meng tribe's territory. They received some news. The Steel Clan leader immediately summoned a great perfection paragon from the Tong Clan and a group of powerful warriors for a discussion. Inside the largest warship, there was a particularly large and luxurious cabin. Two great perfection paragons sat at the head of the table. The Steel Clan leader was the Grand Master, and the Tong Clan's great perfection paragon was the second Hall Master. The other two great perfection paragons didn't have any positions. They were old and didn't like to manage things. If they needed to act, they could just ask them to come. On the left and right sat 30 supreme warriors, all of them infinitely close to great perfection paragon. The 60 elders formed the Elder Cabinet. This was the highest authority in the Blood Feud Hall. The Tong Clan and the Steel Clan each had 30 elder slots. It seemed like the two sides were evenly matched, but everyone knew that the Steel Clan had the absolute dominant position. This couldn't be helped. The Steel Clan's two great perfection paragons were stronger than the Tong Clan's two. The Steel Clan didn't lose too many close to great perfection paragon warriors. They still had more than 100 of them. On the other hand, the Tong Clan only had 40 or so, not to mention their soldiers and Saint Emperors. The two sides weren't on the same level. I've just received news. The Steel Clan leader swept his gaze across the hall and said, "The Rhino Ape Clan, the Glaze Clan, the Waterfish Palace, and the Peaceful Palace might join forces against us. The 6 factions occupying the Meng clan's territory have also been united. Of course, this is only a preliminary prediction based on the information. The specifics have not been confirmed yet." The gang tribe leader's words caused the hearts of everyone present to sink. If that really happened, their trip wouldn't be too smooth. It might even be unknown whether they would be able to obtain this territory. An elder doubtfully stood up and said, "Head Hall Leader, Second Hall Leader, as far as I know, the Rhino Ape Clan and the Glaze Clan are sworn enemies. 100 years ago, a great war broke out. The Glaze Clan's great perfection paragon was almost killed by the Rhino Ape Clan leader. The Waterfish Palace and the Peaceful Palace are also mortal enemies. How could the 4 factions join forces? Was there a mistake in the information? If it's true, we'd like to see if we can use their hatred to drive a wedge between them." The hall was immediately filled with discussions and discussions. The noisy place became like a market. The head hall leader and second hall leader also discussed for a while, but they couldn't come up with any good ideas. The main thing was that they couldn't be sure if the alliance was real or not. They were just making a contingency plan. "All right." After discussing for a long time, the Steel Clan leader said, "We'll stick to the original plan. Regardless of whether the alliance is real or not, we have to give it a try. We have no way out. No matter how hard, tiring, or dangerous this battle is, we have to fight. Chapter 36:56. Although they had managed to obtain some information, it was of little significance to the Steel tribe and the Tong tribe. They continued to advance, while gathering more scouts to investigate the realms of the overlords, to see if the Rhinoceros Ape tribe and the Glaze tribe had joined forces. The Rhino Ape tribe and the Glaze tribe did not make any moves. They did not mobilize their armies, and their experts did not seem to be moving. There were also no rumors of the overlords moving against them in the realms. Therefore, the Steel tribe and Tong tribe were very puzzled. Could it be a rumor spread by someone with ulterior motives? The 6 major factions in the Meng tribe's territory had indeed joined forces. Their armies and experts were stationed at the outer realms, clearly ready for war. They did not care about the 6 major factions. They did not have a single paragon. They could easily toy with them. Half a month later, the warships arrived. The scouts still did not have any definite information. The Steel tribe king had given the order to attack a realm first and occupy a base. It was not good for so many tribesmen to stay on the warships all the time. They chose a small realm that didn't have any expert stationed there. Thus, they were able to easily conquer this realm. After conquering the realm, they chose a large city and chased the citizens out. Then, they began to set up divine runes in the city, preparing to make it their temporary headquarters. As soon as they attacked the realm, the armies of the 6 major factions began to teleport to the realms nearby. They formed an encirclement surrounding the Steel tribe and Tong tribe. At the same time, the Rhino Ape tribe, the Glaze tribe, the Aqua Fish Palace, and the Peaceful Palace moved. The armies of the 4 major factions flew over. The Rhino Ape tribe mobilized many experts who were infinitely close to Paragon level. The Rhino Ape tribe knew that it was impossible for them not to contribute this time. Otherwise, the Glaze tribe, the Aquafish Palace, and the Peaceful Palace would definitely object. For the long-term peace of the Rhino Ape tribe, they had to help and expel the Steel tribe and Tong tribe. Otherwise, with such a powerful neighbor, they could be wiped out at any time. As soon as the 4 superforces made their move, the Steel tribe and Tong tribe were shocked. They had just arrived and were completely clueless about the situation. They didn't know much about the Rhino Ape tribe, the Glaze tribe, the Waterfish Palace, and the Peaceful Palace either. How could they not panic now that they were facing them head-on? The 4 overlords and the 6 great forces had surrounded them. It was as if they had fallen into a wolf's den, causing the Steel tribe and Tong tribe to panic. The higher-ups of the Steel tribe and Tong tribe, on the other hand, threw caution to the wind. They had no intention of escaping. The 8 major star regions might seem huge, but all of their territories were occupied by superforces. They would be stopped no matter where they went. The 5 overlords of the Skyverse sector had agreed. The other overlords were too far away to interfere. Therefore, as long as they defeated these major forces, the Meng tribe's territory would be theirs. Moreover, they would also have the opportunity to conquer the nearby territories of the Glass tribe and the Rhino Ape tribe. First, then fight. The higher-ups of the Gang tribe and the Tong tribe discussed for a while and decided to send messengers to the Water Fish Palace's Calm Peace Palace, the Rhino Ape tribe, and the Glaze tribe. If negotiations went well, they didn't mind giving up a portion of their profits. He could slowly deal with them later. This agreement could be torn up at any time, so it didn't matter if it was there or not. If tribe died, the tribe, the tribe of saints, the tribe and tribe, the tribe would tribe and one. The tribe, one tribe, one was tribe, one and one. On the other hand, the Steel tribe master mobilized a large number of scouts to find out the situation at all costs. The messengers went and soon came back. None of them were missing. The overlords of the Skyverse sector were not so ungracious. They didn't kill the messengers, but there was no room for negotiation. Either get out of the nearby galaxy or start a war. The scouts scattered a large number of celestial stones. They did get some information. At least, they had a general idea of the 4 forces' strength. The Palace of Tranquility was the 2 most powerful. They had more than 100 warriors close to it, followed by the palace of waterfish. As for the glaze race and the rhinoceros ape race, they were much weaker. The war 100 years ago had hurt them greatly. The rhinoceros ape race, in particular, suffered a great loss because of Luli. It was said that the rhinoceros ape race had passed away. The Steel tribe and the Tong tribe were more confident now. The four overlords seemed to be intimidating, but they were all paper tigers. Would the four forces dare to fight them to the death? They had nowhere else to go, so they would fight to the bitter end. But did the four races have the courage and determination to fight to the bitter end? After some discussion, the leaders of the two races made up their minds. They would take the initiative to attack one overlord and see if they could stop it. They were betting that the four overlords would not work together and that they wouldn't have the courage to fight to the bitter end. If there was no way out, then they would all die here. The higher-ups of the two clans gathered all the experts and soldiers and informed them of their situation, as well as the decision of their higher-ups. All the powerful warriors and warriors said nothing. But in their eyes, there was a burning desire to fight. Since there was no way out, they had to fight to the bitter end. They used to be overlords in the Chaotic Star region. Even though they had to flee like homeless dogs, they still had pride in their bones. They didn't want to run away again after running away once. This time, there was hope. They didn't have a freakishly strong opponent like Lu Li or enemies as powerful as the 10 Masters. Fight, fight, fight! A warrior raised his sword and shouted. All the other warriors followed suit. Then, all the powerful warriors shouted as well. The two races, their vassal races, and the soldiers and experts who were willing to follow them totaled up to nearly 300 experts who were infinitely close to the Great Perfection realm, 7,000 to 8,000 Saint Emperors, and about 10 million soldiers. At this moment, the 10 million warriors shouted together. Their killing intent soared into the sky. Stick to the plan. Let's go. The leader of the gang race shouted, "We must win this battle. There will be no death. There will be no life." 5 million warriors flew up. 150 of them were close to the perfect completion realm, and 2 of them were sent out. They wanted to break through the enemy in one direction and attack the rhinoceros race first. There was no other way. The rhinoceros race seemed to be the weakest at the moment. Rumor had it that the perfect completion realm of the rhinoceros race had passed away. Who else could they attack, if not the rhinoceros race? Whether the perfect completion realm of the rhinoceros race was still alive or not, they decided to hurt the rhinoceros race first and then deal with the glass race later. The army flew out in a formidable array. The remaining warriors and powerful warriors began to make arrangements. A perfect completion realm warrior was setting up the formation. The front line was under great pressure, and so was their defense. Without a base camp, they would be like duckweed without a trace. Most importantly, the families of many powerful warriors were here. If they didn't protect their families, how could they fight with peace of mind? The leader of the gang race led the army toward the rhinoceros race as fast as he could. The 4 overlords and the 6 forces were dumbfounded. The gang race and the Tong race were facing so many powerful forces. Instead of defending, they took the initiative to attack. The rhinoceros race complained. There were more powerful warriors that were close to it, let alone 2 at the perfect completion realm. How were they supposed to stop them? You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.